Tualatin City Council meeting. I'll go ahead and now call the meeting to order. First item on our agenda is a Pledge of Allegiance tonight led by Councilor Hillier.
Hi, please stand, remove your hats if you will, place your hand over your heart and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated.
That brings us to announcements. We have two announcements tonight, two sets of new employees. Our first new employees are new Water Division staff, Levi Weldon and Mason Williams, and Terrence will do the introductions. Come on up, gentlemen.
That was quick. There we go. It's gonna be a tight fit, Mayor. We'll make it work. You guys can hear me very well? All right. Mayor, City Council, how we doing tonight?
Good, how about you?
Doing good, doing good.
All right.
I'm Terrence Leahy, Water Division Manager with City of Tualatin, and it's my pleasure to introduce two of our new hires here, Mason Williams and Levi Weldon, as our new Water Tech 1s in our Water Division. Mason started on March 10th. Levi was March 20th, and
Been a while.
it has. It's been a busy few weeks, and or months for that matter. And quick background on Mason. So prior to Tualatin, Mason was both a EMT and firefighter, and also a coffee roaster. So man of many talents, and so you could say we like met at the hydrant, so to speak.
Yeah.
And he's been a great addition. Mason's getting married on Saturday, so this is a big week. So all the fun preparation that goes in with that. So got 5 days, and so yeah, we're all excited for Mason. Loves going outdoors and lives here locally in Sherwood, which is nice for those fun after-hour calls. So, and then to my right is Levi here. Levi, before working with us, worked as a tech with a paper shredding company, and also his prior experience was working putting in fancy like exotic pools and spas and stuff like that. So he's got a lot of plumbing experience. And he's happily married to his lovely wife, Allison, who was here to support him. And Allison is a detective for Portland, so she keeps him on the straight and narrow. And besides that, Levi grew up racing stock cars and building them. So his attention to detail was noticeable in the beginning. And so both of them have been a great addition. He's a huge Utah Utes fan. And they can no longer beat up on Oregon here now that the Pac-12 conference is no longer existing. So, but as far as like work tasks go, both these guys as our Water Tech 1s are learning all the ropes. They're between Alan, some of you guys know Alan and Ernie, they've both been here for 20 and 35 years. So they got a breadth of knowledge. So they're just shadowing them around, learning all the aspects of water. One of the cool things about Tualatin is that we're kind of a mid-sized city, so they really get exposed to all sorts of stuff. We're not getting pigeonholed into like one division. So when it comes to like water sampling, doing mainline repairs, service line breaks, which happened this afternoon, they're really getting exposed to everything. So it's been a pleasure to get them on board. So, yeah.
All right. Gentlemen, anything that you guys like to say?
I'm just happy to be here. Same here. Love it.
All right. Well, thanks for joining our team. There's several things the community values here in Tualatin. Our parks, our library, and our water system. We're still one of the folks that are still on Bull Run water. So Terrence knows the system in and out. When I became young counselor, young mayor, I got the tour of water from him. So you're working for a terrific supervisor, terrific water department. I welcome you to Tualatin, and hopefully you can have long careers here and enjoy every day, working here in Tualatin. Thank you for joining the team.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for your time, everyone.
All right. Now we have two new police officers, Chief Pickering. We'll bring up Chase Charbonneau and Matthew Vorberg. Welcome, gentlemen.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm excited to bring two new police officers here tonight for introductions. So directly to my right is Chase Charbonneau, who Chase started with us on July 21st, and he previously worked as a tax administrator for the Oregon City Tax Service. He grew up in Irvine, California, graduated from Northwood High School, and then received a bachelor's degree in sociology from Oregon State University. He also served in the Air Force for 4 years and spent a short time as a reserve deputy with the Bend County Sheriff's Office. Chase enjoys spending time with his wife and his dogs. He's a movie enthusiast and enjoys playing Dungeons and Dragons. Seated next to him is Matthew Vorberg. Now, the name might seem familiar because if you might remember, this is the son of Michael Vorberg, who was a sergeant with our agency for a short time and is now working for the Grants Pass Police Department. But Matthew also started on July 21st. He previously worked as an office assistant in the academics department at the University of Oregon, so we decided to hire a beaver and a duck on the same day. One of them is smarter than the other. I won't tell you which one, so go Beavs. Originally, Matthew is from Grants Pass, moved to Newburgh at age 10, graduated from Westside Christian. He received a bachelor's in psychology from the University of Oregon. And also spent time as an intern with the DEA. So outside of work, he enjoys time spent with his girlfriend. He's enjoys playing the electric guitar, hiking, and working out. So both of them are currently assigned to our training division. They will attend the Basic Police Academy starting August 25th. So we're excited to get them back and get them into the patrol division and get them started. So, you know, as our mantra, we like to hire good human beings and treat them and train them to be police officers. And these are two fine humans, and we're excited to have them as part of our team.
Great. Gentlemen, the floor is yours. Anything you'd like to say?
I don't think so. Thanks for having us.
You're quiet.
I'm grateful to be here.
All right. Well, thank you both again for joining our local police department. We just had National Night Out. You didn't hear, we had over 10 National Night Out events here in Tualatin. You know, for a small town, that's a lot. Our community very much supports our local police department. You know, Chief Pickering and his team is very much in support of community-based policing, being involved, kids knowing all the police officers as many as they can. So I know he'll instill that in you if you already don't have that. And that look forward to, again, just like the water folks, long career here in Tualatin. It's a terrific department to be part of. You'll have lots of opportunities, start a patrol, maybe ride a motorcycle for a while, be a detective, all kinds of cool stuff you can do here in the Tualatin Police Department. Just want to welcome you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
You both got to compete for #1 spot at the police academy. So. No pressure. No. All right. That brings us to public comment. Public comment is an opportunity for anyone to address the City Council on an item that's not on tonight's agenda. Please keep your comments to about 3 minutes. If there's anyone in the room who would like to comment, I'll take those first, and then we'll switch over to Zoom. Again, remember, you only have 3 minutes. We have quite a few people who are here to talk about the Norwood trees. So I'd ask you, if the person before you has already mentioned the point you were going to cover, just say you agree with that person and then move on to your points, because we want to give everybody the opportunity to get their comments out. So I'll go ahead and start. I got piles of paper here, and we'll start with Danny O'Neill. Welcome, Danny.
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. Appreciate the opportunity to address the council on a very personal concern of mine. Is Tualatin really a Tree City, USA? I've lived in the fine city here since 1995. I enjoy it, and I enjoy being involved. My personal observation over the last 3 to 5 years, I've seen more and more of our older trees disappear. Amongst those were all along Boone's Ferry Road. Both sides of Tualatin Sherwood Road are under the construction, replaced with very wide concrete. There is no indication of trees being replaced. And the southeast corner of Southwest Avery and Tualatin Sherwood Road, there were large trees there that were removed, and I haven't seen any indication of anything going back there, and wondering why that happened. Now, the east end of Norwood Road, most of us are familiar with the Autumn Sunrise development. Trees disappeared there, in my personal opinion, that was not necessary. Now, currently, the tree grove on the west end of Norwood is in jeopardy. My personal understanding of the difference between the developer's placement of the curb, sidewalk, PGE easement, and printer area, the developer's proposal allows for better protection and preservation of the tree grove on the south side of Norwood Road and still meet development conditions. Those conditions are allowed to be modified to protect and preserve wetlands and trees. The city's direction requires more area and places PEG utility easement closer to the trees and will not protect and preserve this old growth of trees. That's not just my opinion. That's the expert evaluation of a certified arborist consultant. My request tonight is for the city to take a closer look at the bigger concern of protecting our natural resources, trees in this case. We don't need or want another autumn sunrise fiasco. If the trees on the west end of Norwood are lost due to ill-placed sidewalks and PGE utilities, are we really acting like a Tree City, USA? Thanks for your time and attention to this very visible issue. One question. Ask yourself, who will bear the responsibility in negative PR if we lose the Norwood trees? And that's going to be a neighborhood perspective. Thank you very much.
Next up, I have Julie Hieronymus.
Hi, my name is Julie Hieronymus. I'm a 25-year resident of Tualatin and also Vice President of the Byram CIO. I'm here to speak for the trees along Norwood as well. During the autumn sunrise development, we were promised that those existing mature trees would stay, but then they were cut down below the approved line. This led to dangerous instability, power outages, and the permanent loss of our natural sound barrier. Ken Allen has proposed a plan that protects the remaining trees while meeting city development goals, and it's time we support developers who align with Tualatin's values as Tree City, USA. Per the city's official website, it states, this year Tualatin celebrates being named a Tree City, USA for the 35th time. The people of Tualatin have long seen the health of its tree canopy as vital to their sense of well-being and the community's well-being. Trees aren't just landscaping, they're vital to our environment, property values, and quality of life. Please don't repeat the mistakes of the past. Support the plan that preserves the most trees. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I have Carol Robinson.
I pass.
Pass, okay. Next, M. Roberts. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is M. Roberts. I represent Todd Prager and Associates, consulting arborist firm. We've been working on this project on Norwood Road, and I'm an ISA certified arborist. A couple of highlights from the arborist report, which you'll hear about shortly if you haven't already seen it. No trees to be removed on grove edges is recommended, and a minimum of 13 feet of tree protection zone where no right-of-way improvements, utilities, grading, or excavation within that 13-foot protection area. Here's why. Industry standard is 6 inches to 1 foot of tree protection radius around trees to be protected in a construction zone. And a minimum is that 6 inches of radius per 1 inch of diameter of tree. So the northernmost tree in this site is 26 inches diameter at standard height, and that's where the 13-foot protection zone came from. The current city protocols do not allow for that amount of protection zone. Interior trees of a stand rely on exterior trees for wind protection and structural stability. Removing trees and/or removing or damaging roots of trees, of exterior trees, is severely debilitating to the entire stand. We've seen this before in the failures east on Norwood Road. And in this current proposed project, we're hoping that that can be completely avoided by retaining all of the exterior trees in the stand. Those tree failures were a direct result of construction damage under rigid city protocols. So why do we care? Public safety and community benefits. Trees are vital infrastructure, filtering air and absorbing and filtering thousands of gallons of water in this stand of trees alone during each heavy rainstorm, which significantly reduces flooding and improves air and water quality for the city. Additionally, they provide shade on the adjacent path that they are next to. Mature trees offer exponentially greater ecological and hydrological benefits than newly planted 2-inch caliper trees. Retaining mature tree canopy and expanding housing are both achievable. Success lies in collaboration, flexibility, and creative problem solving from all of us. Thank you to city staff, all of you city council, developers, and community members that are here for engaging in early discourse on this project. Planning phase decisions are where success is built. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Hudson, is it Norwood? Right here? I think I'm reading Hudson. You gone here? All right, we'll go back to that one just in case. Brent Baby.
Whoops. Sorry. I'm getting old. I fall over.
Yeah.
Mayor, honorable counselors, thank you for listening to us tonight. This again is about the Norwood Road trees. You've heard some of these things before, but I'd like to reiterate some of them because I think one of the messages is the most important thing. So who here remembers the 100-mile-an-hour windstorm in 1997? Okay. So it taught us a lesson about how we had done development badly by removing inconvenient Douglas fir trees. Portland was shut down for a week, so was power. Almost every new home in Durham had 100-foot-tall trees crashing into their homes. This was because many of the outer, stronger stabilizing trees were removed when they interfered with a new home footprint. This was a real event. This type of storm will happen again. It is not some remote theoretical thing that may happen. It's been a long time since then, and memories are short. Some people today have never learned this firsthand. This is what we will face if city engineers and policies prevail for the tree issue on Norwood Road. We already recently experienced this problem 100 yards down the road when Lanaran AKS removed the stronger outer trees along Norwood and left only small, weak, spindly trees that did not survive a storm just a few weeks later, taking our power feed down with them as they fell. If you take nothing else away tonight, please know that the city plan for Ken Allen's development will cause this to happen. Ken's plan does not. Plus, it preserves the beauty, shade, light diffusion from the athletic field for the people that live along Norwood. And importantly, wind protection. Not least our wildlife habitat, including bald eagles that live there that I have seen personally grab squirrels right off of Norwood Road. So when you decide this issue, I urge you to go with Ken's plan. Trees are more important than 12-foot sidewalks that may or may not ever fulfill a safety need. Thank you.
Rob Hula?
Topics have already been covered, just want to say I support
Okay.
all the previous speeches, my wife and my family, strong support.
Okay, thank you. Dan Cobb?
One of the justifications, or a few of the justifications.
Getting here.
Sorry. So, some of the justifications I've read for the city's plan is that we need a 12-foot sidewalk for safety, and we need a planting zone setback for safety, and we need a bicycle path for safety. And those are, the bicycle path clearly is a great idea, right? Tualatin High School, the sidewalk facing Tualatin High School is 5.5 feet wide with no planting strip. It does have a bike path. And yet there's been no significant accidents that I'm aware of, and I've lived right near the high school for many, many years. By the way, I've been living in Tualatin since 1983. So I don't understand how the safety considerations that are in place for Tualatin High School regarding the width of the sidewalk and a planting strip are ignored for Tualatin High School, and they haven't had any issues. I don't think that a 12-foot sidewalk running along Norwood, as is in front of the Autumn Sunrise development, I don't see how that's necessary. And for the life of me, I don't see enough people on that 12-foot wide sidewalk. I mean, I see almost nobody on that sidewalk, me and a couple of neighbors. The volume traffic of pedestrian, bicycle traffic, and foot traffic just does not warrant such a massive layer of concrete. Concrete ruins whatever the heck it's laying on. Concrete is the enemy of a healthy ecosystem. It's a curse. And laying down concrete so close to existing trees that they hope will stand is ludicrous, because the root structure that all those adjacent trees need, they're all torn out, as your arborists have said. So I don't fathom who on earth thinks we need 12-foot wide sidewalks in there. I just don't get it. So if you wander around city of Tualatin, you don't see 12-foot wide sidewalks almost anywhere. Maybe I'm blind, but they're just not there. So it's disgusting. It's just horrific, and I hope you can care about the quality of life for people in the community by letting those trees remain. We lost big time with the previous development on Norwood Road. That was just a tragedy, and anybody could see it coming. Anybody knows anything about trees. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, out in the trees, so I know. Come on, do the right thing. Just do the right thing for us.
Thanks, Dan. All right. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Is there anyone in Zoom that's related to Norwood? Okay, all right. Going to keep on the same topic here. Go ahead, Carly.
I think I was just unmuted. Hello, everybody. Thank you for your time tonight. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yep.
Okay, great. My name is Carly Case. I've lived here in Tualatin for 17 years. Thanks to the Autumn Sunrise development, not only did we lose an entire 22-acre forest. Don't know if you know how much that was. That was 22 acres. And as has also been mentioned, the last remaining line of Douglas firs along Southwest Norwood bordering Autumn Sunrise. Additionally, because of the increased capacity needed to accommodate these developments, we hear that the line of trees nearest Southwest Boone's Ferry bordering 9300 Southwest Norwood Road, that will be removed anyway, to make the road wider for a dedicated left-hand turning lane on Norwood. Once this is done, there will be very few mature frontage trees left after all of this. And as a community, we're asking the city for a compromise and to revisit city standards that preserve mature trees. I'm asking the city to commit to saving whatever we can, working with the willing developer to preserve the mature stand of trees and the root system to keep what we can of our history and ecology. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Tim, you're up.
Great, thank you. This is Tim Neary, Byram CIO President, and just want to reiterate a lot of the comments that have been said so far. I really especially want to shout out to Danny O'Neill, who is the Byram CIO Land Use Officer. He spoke first tonight, and he has researched and been involved on this issue more than anyone could ever ask for. And he has done such great work in diving into this on trying to understand the city's perspective, Ken's perspective about the trees. And the key piece of information that I keep coming back to that Danny unearthed was that when he pushed city engineers for like what plan are they going on, are they basing this off of, what they sent Danny was the drawing, the plan that was put forth as part of the Autumn Sunrise development with the AKS engineering stamp on it. It was very clearly the exact same plan that Autumn Sunrise used, and that plan clearly didn't work. It said it did on the front end, and that's what we were told. We were told it would be fine, and then of course all those trees fell, and then they had to be bulldozed. And while we've heard from the city manager about like a willingness to work together, until there's a concrete plan for how the trees are going to be preserved, I mean, based on past experience, we as neighbors in the neighborhood are pretty antsy and concerned about what's going to happen. So we look forward to a real concrete plan from the city as far as like how they'll be preserved. And encourage the city to consider options where utilities and the easement for them go either under the road or even cross the road to the north side of Norwood, where there's just a, 15 to 20 foot wide stretch of weeds. So that's all I want to say and reiterate a lot of the comments you heard earlier. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tim. All right. So is there anyone else, you don't have to be signed up, in the room or on Zoom, who would like to comment? Come on up, sir.
I didn't plan on speaking, but I just can't help myself. My name's Dave Tully. I live on Stonewood Drive. I live directly behind the football field. Those trees, I moved here from Canby. I took that home with my wife because of that beauty behind my home. I look at those trees every day and how beautiful they are. I see bald eagles up there constantly. I see squirrels playing in those trees. I saw the disaster of Autumn Sunrise firsthand. I saw those trees come down. It made me cry. It was disappointing. I was here before you all. You saw me. I don't want to see this happen. There are trees behind us. It's just a terrible design. And the developer's design, I feel, is more than compromising for what needs to be had there. But to take those beautiful trees out will cause me to leave this city. It will definitely cause me to put my home on the market. The minute I hear that this is a done deal and those trees are going out, that sign will go in my yard. I'm sorry. I love this community. I love living here. I raised my kids here. I have a step-kid that is doing wonderful in this city. She's doing fantastic. She's a realtor here. She sells a lot of property in the city. But this will cause a family problem for us, and we will be out of here. I don't want to see that happen. Please, think about it. Go with the developer's plan. It's really a good plan, and save our trees. Okay? Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Come on up, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name's Ken Allen, and I'm the friendly developer that's doing the townhomes, and also I represent Horizon School and Church. And before I get to talking about the topics of trees, I had some community news to share, and that is this past weekend, Horizon always does a back-to-school backpacks, and we were able to reach over 500 families that came into our school, and then we gifted all these families with backpacks full of supplies. So just, integrated part of the community. And why I say that isn't to bring attention to Horizon. They don't typically do that. But what we're trying to do with the trees and the safety factors isn't really about trees. It's about people. The gentleman just spoke. He's talking about livelihood and living here and lifestyle. And that I'm an Oregon native. I actually came into this world on Columbus Day storm. So if anybody knows that storm, I've already taken care of many, many trees on my day of arrival. So don't really want to do any more. I will say I've never been on this side of the table of this argument. I've been usually on the other side. And it's actually kind of refreshing to have the community support. And I wanted to thank staff because they've been very transparent with me. We've had lots of meetings, lots of emails, maybe too many emails, but I think I even got a call this afternoon. I think we're moving towards a positive solution, but to Tim's point, we definitely need to bring that to a concrete plan. I still stand by our plan. You'll see in the arborist letter, I'm not going to go into the points, but the point a couple made earlier, the sidewalk in front of the high school, pretty unsafe. And I can't really express the concern for safety more than telling you a quick story. We were down in California on a project, and we were living and coming and going with my family. We still lived here in Oregon, and some good friends of ours on the soccer team, they actually lost their 2 children from a drunk driver who went over the bike lane, over the planter strip, over the 12-foot sidewalk, and onto the bike path that's up here, probably 40 feet away. So whether we're curb tight or 30 feet or whoever, it's not going to stop that. So the second picture I handed out is on Highway 43 in Lake Oswego. They have a decorative rail that also serves as a protector for pedestrians. So there's a 3-foot planter. Highway 43, how fast do they go down there? 35, 45, pretty fast. So I'm willing as a developer to bring that kind of a solution all along Norwood in a partnership with the city to give us SDC credits, because I feel that would answer the safety aspect, bring some beauty to it, and still preserve the trees, which is really what we're all about. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'm Mary Lynn Westenhaver, and I've lived in Tualatin for 25 years this go-around. And I just wanted to say that we all know that as cities grow and develop that we're going to lose trees. And it's still sad, even though it has to happen. But there are also times when it doesn't have to happen. So if we can save some trees, like a big bunch of trees, why not? That's all. Thanks.
Thank you.
Boy, that's a pretty shot.
My name is Jo Ost. I've lived in Tualatin for 24 years, and my backyard looks out at the former trees that I used to look at where Autumn Sunrise is built. And I'd like to compliment Ken Allen for having a plan that keeps the trees. And one of the things I've noticed is that because of the 12-foot sidewalk and the plantings that they did, is that they have to come and maintain it, mow it, water it, and I just think that's a waste of resources when you could have trees that maybe need needles raked up once in a while. I think that's not good for the environment. And I also wonder why we need a 12-foot meandering sidewalk with grass when something smaller could suffice and we could keep those trees. I guess that's all I have to say.
Right, thank you.
The other points were very well spoken to.
All right, anyone else? Anyone pop up in Zoom? Oh, come on up, sir.
I wasn't planning on saying anything either. My name is Brian Beckstead. I live off Stonewall Drive. Actually, right behind my house was the 23 acres of beautiful pine trees when I moved there. And after they were all gone and before the houses were built, we had a windstorm come through that literally tore down just about every fence on the backside of that property. The two neighbors next to me actually had their fences cemented down, and it raised the cement blocks up, and they had to pay to have it fixed because of the strong winds that came through. I don't know. I live on that side, so I see that impact. So I obviously don't want that for my neighbors on the other side. And it's just, I don't know, everybody that's here that wants to support Ken's plan and keep the trees, just quickly stand up so you know exactly how many of you are here. And thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yep. All right. Anyone else? Nobody on Zoom? All right. So then I'll move on to Kevin Mulvaney. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you, Council. So 3 weeks ago when I came to you all and told my sad story of how we were told we weren't going to keep our ducks, I was moderately hopeful that what happened tonight at the work session would happen, that most of you were on board, and I appreciate all of you being on board. I also appreciate you going through the trauma of the duck thaw and not wanting to relive that. But to our point, I think it was Commissioner Brooks or Councilor Brooks said that, sorry, I'll get back to that. Flightless ducks are the same as chickens in terms of how dirty they are, how much noise they make. And the one thing flightless ducks have going for us is they can't get out of our yard. If you travel down Martinazzi Avenue, you will see chickens that belong to people who may have permits, they may not. Those chickens are walking down the road all the time, getting out of their yards. So that slight adjustment to the verbiage in the code, I know it is a lengthy time, 6 months out to go through that process. But I imagine the amount of actual work is minimal to get those changes made. Would help Tualatin grow and allow people that maybe aren't looking for backyard fowl as food source, but as companion. We love our ducks just as much as we love our rabbit and our dog and our cat. We will get food, and I'm happy to give duck eggs away because we can't eat that many in our house, but looking at it from less of a food source, it is a food source, it is a comfort source, and they are pretty low impact animals to the neighbors. They do quack, they do look like they want to fly, but they can't. They do spread feathers, which I understand could, people with allergies might have that. But I think the change of times, that's where I was getting at, the change of times and attitudes about what is a backyard animal. Chickens are great. Our neighbors have had chickens, and this new idea of what else can be a pet in the backyard, as long as we foster reasonable and responsible backyard pet ownership. It's not an alligator, it's not a wild dog or a cat that's climbing into other people's yards and fighting with their cats. Flightless ducks, and there's only about 7 species out of the 140 worldwide species of ducks. They can't do that. They can't really impact the neighbors. And they would abide by the same rules as the chickens, 10 feet from the neighbors, 20 feet from their house, keep them in a pen. They love being in their enclosed space at night, so they don't pose any different problems than chickens. So thank you very much for all of your time, and that conversation continued to give me hope that we will be able to keep our pets for the future. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up, Rob Drake. Welcome, Rob.
Good evening, Mayor Bubenik and City Council. I am Rob Drake, and I'm here as Chair of People for Libraries. The Washington County has brought forward a cooperative library services, Washington County Cooperative Library Services, an operating levy for the November 4th election. It is a replacement levy for the current funding and it will be, like the current one, a 5-year duration. The levy is approximately 45% of the revenue for the 16 libraries in the county. And if this measure is lost, it would be devastating. I mean, look at your own city budget. If you suddenly overnight lost 45% of it, it would be a dark place to be. The cities benefit immensely from this measure. The measure helps fund many aspects of full library services in the county. I'm here to ask that the city pass a resolution of support for the funding measure. I provided you a draft, which you're welcome to use or not. I borrowed from one we brought forward in 2000. It's a model resolution, and it is ballot measure 34345. And I know there are some issues right now working out the final formula, but that's something internal to the measure itself. And I think what's most important is to get this passed, and any help you could provide would be, I think, welcomed. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you, Rob.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So anyone else who would like to come on up and do citizen resident comment on anything that's not on the agenda? You already did, Dan. No, you already did. You already got one shot. That's it. Is it a different topic? Oh, okay, sorry. All right.
So, does the city allow chickens?
You got to be at the, we can't hear you. They have to hear you on the mic.
The city allows chickens.
Yes.
Wow.
Dan. Yeah,
And now we're going to thinking about adding ducks?
that's the request.
I see. I'm amazed that we allow chickens. I've lived in a neighborhood, actually, it's a rental. The neighborhood had chickens. They got out constantly. The feed from the chickens attracted lots of rodents. So the entire area was kind of overrun by mice and rats that tended to live in tunnels underground under our landscaping. So when I went out to redo the landscaping, rodents spread in a panic. And the chickens, as I said, were all over the place. They would jump up onto the back deck of the house and ping on their reflection on the sliding door. Out of what, competition, I suppose? I don't know. It's amazing to me that we allow chickens. I just do not think that's a great idea. But adding to that ducks, I don't know. I think we really should rethink this whole poultry thing in a city of this size. I just can't believe it.
All right, thanks, Dave. All right, anyone else? All right, turning back to Norwood, I know as of Friday, city staff was still working with Mr. Allen on a plan, and the latest I heard was that some progress was made and that we were awaiting a new plan from Mr. Allen that addresses some of the city's concerns. With that, I'm just going to have Mike come on up and just give a quick update, and Aquila, if you'd like, on a synopsis of the Friday meeting.
Good evening. I'm Mike McCarthy. I'm the city engineer.
Hi, good evening. I'm Aquila Hurd-Ravitch, the Community Development Director. And yes, we met with Ken, I think it was actually 2 or more Fridays ago. Anyway, it was a couple of weeks ago. And we have started working on, a plan that could meet his needs as well as the conditions of approval. And we think that there's flexibility in the land use decisions that were already issued and those conditions that will allow him to meet the conditions as well as preserve the trees. And I think we voiced in that meeting that we are in agreement with Ken and that we want to preserve the trees as well. And so we're really just looking for his plan that can bring all that together.
Thank you. So just to make it really clear, we are committed to preserving the trees. And when last we met with Mr. Allen, we left it that his team is working on their design plans, and that we would then be working with him on those plans on how to fit the walkway and plantings where they can fit without impacting the root zones of the trees and the issues that would be with the trees. So we'll be working with Mr. Allen, with his arborist, and to figure out the specifics for how we can make this work and preserve the trees and meet the land use requirements that Mr. Allen's development's legally required to meet and meet city codes for good transportation facilities. So we are working together. I believe we'll be able to find a good solution that will preserve the trees, that will have a good design and a good place for people to walk, and that we can meet these goals. But to be completely clear, we are committed to preserving the trees.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right, so that will conclude tonight's public comment. I very much appreciate everyone coming out tonight. You're welcome to stick around for Sheriff Massey's request about the levy. We've got a couple of county commissioners here to talk about the library levy. So if you want to stick around and hear about those things, please feel free. If you want to leave, go ahead and do that now. All right, that brings us to tonight's consent agenda. Those items on the consent agenda are considered routine and will be adopted by one motion unless someone on the council would like one of them removed and heard separately later tonight. Tonight's consent agenda consists of item number 1, consideration for approval of the work session and regular meeting minutes of July 14th, 2025. Item 2, consideration of resolution number 5898-25, awarding the contract for the construction of the Nyberg Creek Trail to Nutter Corporation. Item number 3, consideration resolution number 5899-25, authorizing the Second Amendment to the agreement between the City of Tualatin and Randall and Karen Alvstad for management operations of Basalt Creek Parkland. Item number 4, consideration of resolution number 5900-25, authorizing the First Amendment to the agreement between the City of Tualatin and Marguerite Robb for the management and operations of Riverfront Parkland. Item number 5, consideration of resolution number 5901-25, authorizing the First Amendment to the agreement between the City of Tualatin and Dan Cash and Marsha Riley for management and operations of Riverfront Parkland. And finally, item number 6, consideration of resolution number 5903-25, amending the City of Tualatin fee schedule and rescinding resolution number 5871-25. Earlier tonight in work session, Councilor Gonzalez mentioned that he'd like item number 6 removed from consent and heard separately later tonight. Are there any other changes?
I move that we adopt the consent agenda except item 6 as read.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussions on the motion to approve the consent as read with the exception of pulling item number 6? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. All right. Moving on to special reports. Washington County Levees presentation. I'm going to take Sheriff Massey because she keeps fanning herself back there. So I know she's toasty. Sheriff Massey, come on up. And District Attorney Barton, welcome. We got to get you a little fan when you with all that stuff on. Put me to work and I can fan you.
Oh my gosh,
Commissioner
there you
Snyder,
go.
welcome.
Oh, good evening, Mayor and council members. I really appreciate you giving us the opportunity to talk a little bit about the local option levy coming on the ballot in November. We're really looking forward to sort of doing a little bit of education, but we're going to zoom through the slides so that we can spend more time making sure that what we talk about and what this includes is meaningful for you. So we'd like to spend more time just responding to questions that you might have.
Well, good evening. I'm Kevin Barton. I think I've
had a chance to speak with many of you in the past. I'm the DA, of course, and I want to echo what Sheriff Massey said. So before I dive into the first slide, I do want to take a moment and say the topic of trees and ducks is actually relevant to what we're going to talk about here today, because, here's the segue, when I think of our public safety system, it's an ecosystem. And for the ecosystem to work correctly, everything needs to be in equilibrium and to be balanced. And that means I can't do the work I do in the DA's office without an adequately funded and well-run sheriff's office. And the sheriff and I can't do the work we do without our community corrections department, who supervises people who've been convicted of crimes, without them having adequate funding and resources. And they can't do the work they do without our juvenile department, who deals with youths, typically teenagers, who find themselves on the wrong side of the law, making bad decisions as kids and as teenagers, but we know that we have an opportunity to rehabilitate them and to turn them around in the right direction. All of those public safety systems and component pieces need to work together like the ecosystem with our trees and our ducks and everything else to make everything work in balance. And so in that sense, I think that today's topic is actually relevant to what we're speaking to you about here in a moment. So we have several slides, and I'll just dive through a few of them. We're talking about essentially a replacement levy. So this will be a new levy with an increased amount. For the average homeowner, some later slides will get into this, but it's roughly $6 more that we're asking the average homeowner to pay. It's 66 cents per assessed $1,000 of value for property. It will raise, we believe, an estimate of about $337 million over a 5-year period. I'll take the lead on this next slide, then I'll pass the baton. So a broad brushstroke snapshot of how our levy funds our criminal justice public safety system. About 16% of our public safety ecosystem is funded by the local option levy. The remaining 84% is funded by other sources. The largest single other source, of course, is the county general fund. But this 16% is absolutely critical to doing the work that we do. It makes sure that our jail can function adequately, makes sure the sheriff's has patrol officers who can respond all throughout the county, including in the cities, like our mental health response teams and other important resources. It ensures that when your Tualatin police officers, Chief Pickering's people, go out and make an arrest, when your Tualatin residents call 911 or your Tualatin businesses witness a crime occurring, that there can be room at the jail for them to be housed, and that there can be a prosecutor in the DA's office to prosecute that crime, and a victim advocate to support the crime victim, and a community corrections officer to make sure that that person's adequately supervised. So it does all of those things. To the right of the screen, of course, we try to summarize some of those things and to highlight them. So prosecution, countywide law enforcement services, probation and parole, juvenile. And I want to highlight one last piece there for you too, is support for domestic violence victims. One piece that our levy has funded in the past and will continue to fund in the future is support for our Family Justice Center. This is a countywide resource. It's a nonprofit that provides resources for domestic violence survivors, sexual assault survivors, and when a new building is opened here in January, will also include child abuse victims and survivors. So it's one-stop shopping for all of those victims and survivors. Also will be funded by levy dollars, which is so important to making sure our ecosystem flourishes.
Where do you want to go?
I'm here for questions.
Oh, you're here for questions. I love knowing this. This is beautiful. Okay, so let's touch on a few things that this levy will do. It's going to provide those resources that the district attorney just talked about, investigating and prosecuting crimes, not just those most violent of crimes, but those crimes that directly relate to our livability, theft, break-ins, graffiti, car theft. Those are the things that are instrumental in making sure that people feel safe in their neighborhoods and their homes. And it's really, I think, in all of our cities here in Washington County, the reason why people enjoy living here so much, because the livability in Washington County is really exceptional. It will allow for the district attorney to ensure that they can not only prosecute child abuse and child pornography type cases, but add additional resources. It's important to mention, I believe, that our child abuse reports have increased by 17% over the last few years, and we don't see that piece going down. And so it is incumbent upon us to ensure that we have the resources necessary to be able to hold those offenders accountable and to provide the services that they need. Another thing for me is that this levy will allow us to not just maintain the services that we are providing, but expand upon those services and ensure that we are providing more robust programming and services for our community, like expanded victims assistance and emergency programs for families harmed by domestic violence, and for essential interagency teams like our West Side Interagency Narcotics Team, our WIN team, who removed about 1.3 million fentanyl pills over the last 3 years. And while I understand we can't quantify a negative, if one pill can kill, can you just imagine how many lives have been saved through those interagency efforts and the dedicated deputies who are on the street doing the interdiction to keep those things from coming into our community? And this is one thing that's really near and dear to my heart. I know that I have spent time with all of you before, and that providing a county jail is a statutory requirement of the sheriff. The Washington County Jail is, in a very biased fashion, the most professional, exceptional jail that I've seen. And I say that having come from a jail previously on the East Coast. And the services that we provide, to include things like mental health services for our adults in custody, critical programming like GED and things like that, allow for us to ensure that, in our way, keeping the community safe helps us ensure that we are putting a better adult in custody back out into the community, a more rehabilitated, a adult in custody who might be on critical medications, so that the community is safer than they were before they came into custody. Our county jail has not been operating at full capacity. Previously, it was due to staffing issues, but we have really turned that around, and currently it is due to critical infrastructure repair. The Washington County Jail is the smallest jail per capita at its current service level in the entire state. However, we are the second largest county in the state by population. And so this levy will allow us to continue to expand those efforts and to get these critical infrastructure repairs done so that we can provide more bed space for those people that actually really need to be in custody. Do you want to touch on that?
Sure. You know, thinking about if we expand, if we increase the dollar amount for the levy, what will allow us to do, to continue to do, and also how will it allow us to expand the work that we do? I'd like to talk a little bit about the mental health response team. I'm assuming that this is not the first time any of you have heard of the mental health response team, but if it is, I'll just tell you, it pairs a licensed clinical social worker with a patrol officer, and they can go out anywhere in the county to provide an alternative response. It's invaluable. I actually did a ride-along a few years ago with the sheriff's office out with their MHRT team, and within maybe the first 20 minutes of our shift, we went out to the city of Beaverton. They go to any city. And it provided the Beaverton officers with another option. Rather than making an arrest and going to jail, there was a man that was clearly in a mental health crisis. And being able to see that firsthand was very eye-opening. So I'd encourage you, if you haven't had the chance to do a ride-along, whether it's with the MHRT or somewhere else, it really gives you an idea of what type of resource there is. Maybe the most critical question is, how is this going to impact the average homeowner? And so, as I alluded to earlier, it's about $6 more per month for this replacement. Everything's going up. The last thing we wanted to do would be to say, hey, raise taxes. That's not a good thing. We're property taxpayers as well. However, we can't continue to do the work that we do without increasing the levy amount. So the dollars and cents are there on the screen for you, but for the average home with the assessed value of about $350,000, they would pay just under $20 a month, or $230 a year. This, of course, is the parade of horribles. What happens if the measure does not pass? And I'll just tell you, I don't know. It would be really, really bad. We lose not only the funding, there'd be massive layoffs, there would be critical cuts to the public safety infrastructure in Washington County. The system would not look tomorrow the way it does today, and it would erode a sense of safety that we have built up here over the years. And once eroded, it is very difficult to get that back. I think we know that from looking at our neighbors. Let's see. This is a summary slide.
thing.
So I think we can maybe segue into some questions if you all have questions for us. And what we're looking for is just your support. And we would love the opportunity to answer questions you have, though. And if there's anything we can do to help you support the levy, we'd love the chance to do that as well.
Commissioner Snyder, do you want to sing there? Just field the questions.
Well, I again want to reiterate what my colleagues presenting tonight have already said, and we really do want to try to meet all of our community's needs throughout Washington County, and do want to earn and have the support of the Tualatin City Council.
Okay. Questions? Councilor Reyes.
Oh, thank you very much for your presentation. I was just, I'm just curious, because it is shocking that you said child abuse was up 17%. Number one, why? Is there a reason? And number two is like, are there any like educational piece or part of this? Is there any educational to teach parents how to be parents, or have like what is the goal to get that down? If it went up 17%, can you get it back down to 17%? I mean, it's just mind-boggling that we just say so loosely, oh, it went up 17%. I feel that's shocking, so.
I agree with you, by the way, that it's shocking. Please know, the reason that's included is because it's shocking, and because it's true, and because it's a significant priority for us to dedicate more resources to. I'll speak just a little bit about what we are doing and hope to continue doing and expand, and then I'll give the DAI an opportunity because he has a large piece of this as well. But our, for instance, our public affairs team is out in the community constantly giving these presentations and education. I'm working specifically with Sheriff's Office advisory boards to reach communities that I might not have direct access to or not know exactly what they need from us by way of education. And then we are doing a significant amount of work, even if it's unrelated to child abuse, but someone's in custody and they need some sort of parenting classes. Those are things that we offer as a way to teach people alternative responses when they're in crisis and aren't able to manage whatever it is in their family that is causing them to move down this path. But it has to be a holistic approach, not just the sheriff's office, not just the DA's office, not just community corrections, not just juvenile. And then I will say lastly that I believe, while I do not have data with me to affirm it, that people are also reporting more frequently than they ever have before. Now that kids are back in school and it's not COVID, they have more access to those, mandatory reporters, teachers, counselors, nurses that are identifying this than they did the previous years where COVID was in existence and so many kids were out of school. Kevin?
Well, I was a child abuse prosecutor for roughly the 10 years before I was elected as DA, so this is an issue that I've spent a lot of time thinking about, and the sheriff's exactly right. So child abuse reports are up. That doesn't mean child abuse occurrences are up. In fact, I don't believe that child abuse occurrences are dramatically as increased as the reports are. Ironically, this is going to sound weird to say, it's a good thing when reports are up because that means we're finding out about more of it. I know that sounds odd to say. There's actually a significant disconnect between reported crime and actual crime for most crime categories. The exceptions to that are car thefts. Usually, most people, when their car is stolen, they'll always report it. Even the criminals will report it because cars are so expensive, you need to file a report in order to make an insurance claim, right? But some crime just doesn't get reported. Domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse. And so we've done a lot of work, and actually the levy has funded a lot of this outreach work. We have these things, they're called MDTs, multidisciplinary teams, where we bring together people from a variety of disciplines, schools, healthcare providers, prosecutors, CPS workers, police officers, and we try and sit around and look at an issue from a 360-degree perspective. How can we get people to report this more? How can we raise awareness? How can we teach parents about how to keep their teenagers safe with phones? I've got 3 of them, and I still can't figure that one out. But the more we can do to get the increased awareness and the increased reports, the more we can find out about the problem that's happening. So I actually see it as a slightly encouraging sign when we know what's happening because it lets us dig into the issue. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, that was actually a lot. I guess because it was said so like, so I'm like, oh, geez, you know, that really like sparked an interest in why it went up. And now that you're saying it's because of reporting, there's more access to people that, you know, can help kids understand what the, or like parents understand how to be, at least like you said, the response, I like what you put it, the responses to some kind of reaction or, you know, to
so people
children.
can respond differently. Yeah,
Differently,
absolutely.
right, yeah. And the education part to me is really important, because I think that's what leads to responding if you don't have the education or the tools, what to do when you're in that situation where you're I guess child abuse, I always think of like violence, but it could be different things.
Sure.
So, yeah,
Yes.
I guess, yeah. Thank you.
Now, what we have seen an increase in is children exposed to drugs, and that is dramatically increasing. So that, I don't want to sugarcoat things and say, there are some increasing challenges that we're seeing today. So that is a real factor and a real challenge for us.
Thank you.
You bet.
President Pratt.
Hi.
And then Councilor
Get
Hilliard.
ready, Commissioner Snyder.
Oh,
He's used to me. Our mayor, with his Washington County Coordinating Committee, he is for the whole time we've been on council telling us of your dire straits at the jail, especially. So I understand the need for this, and you know, the big concern here is that people are, you know, we just passed a school levy, we're
Yes. Mm-hmm.
gonna talk about library levy, and people are not, their costs aren't covering, so that's the concern,
Understood.
but I understand this need and that we need a jail at full capacity. So, on to Commissioner Snyder. I know you guys had a huge budget shortfall, but I was very concerned, what, $7.1 million you cut from this budget, and my concern, I guess it's more of a statement, is that going forward, if this passes, that we're not gonna see this again the next year and the next year in your county budget.
Well, I don't think there's ever going to be a guarantee I can provide for you
No.
indefinitely in the future. The commission is working really hard to try to figure out how to stabilize the county funding on a more long-term basis. The entire commission that's currently in place has provided very clear direction that we want to be on that path, and we are on that path. I want to be clear about that. Part of that path, though, involves shoring up the financial resources that are available to continue providing the critical services that we need to provide. In this case, public safety. I think you're going to continue to see a struggle as we work through a number of areas and try to figure out how to make those financially sustainable in the long run. Some of that is caused by the large number of sort of urban unincorporated areas. I was talking to another commissioner earlier today about that and what the challenge that poses. That's a little different than what we're talking about today, but it really does pose a significant challenge for the county and frankly for the services that many of those urban unincorporated community members expect.
As a former city elected, I'm sure you understand that we have concerns about that too.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
Councilor Hilliard.
Thank you very much. I'd like to place the lens on stopping the pipeline a little bit. I appreciate why you've chosen family justice and chosen the parts of the circle that you've chosen. But District Attorney Barton, I've sat in many meetings with you around ACEs, and that effort I didn't see really go anywhere, which was too bad. And maybe there's an update on that, other than I think no closed door, or I think is the only outcome that came out of that countywide effort that I'm aware of. And
Oh, are you speaking of maybe a year or so ago, there was this countywide ACEs convening?
there were multiple, yes.
Well, the convening of multiple meetings.
Yeah.
So the Family Justice Center is, will become the Family Peace Center. They're changing the name with the focus on ACEs, which is adverse childhood experiences. The idea being, of course, that the more work we can do for young people who have experienced trauma, the greater benefits we can have down the road where they avoid falling into things like homelessness or addiction or criminal behavior. So the Family Peace Center is actually, I think, one of the positive things to come out of those ACES convening meetings.
I understand that, and I applaud that whole entire effort. But as we consider the continuum of care of how people are getting there and how that education works, I guess I would just like to say that it's something that I would love in the future for you to consider, that the substance use prevention programming around the, those programs have been eliminated basically by the federal government. There are cuts here, there, and everywhere that are going to continue to impact your pipeline. And I don't see really any efforts on any part, like the county has made it 10 times more difficult to sign a contract to get to work with the county. And I know Commissioner Snyder and I have talked about that. Certainly hasn't gotten any better. But I do think that if, we're talking about sustainability and impact on the youth and families in our communities. And I think we have to look more systemically and more broadly on that continuum of care when we're asking communities for dollars. And I understand why this is a specific scope, but I'm really disappointed that we can't be more holistic.
So you want to see, what I'm hearing you say is you want to see more upstream primary prevention so that we're not having so much downstream work for these two fine leaders.
Absolutely, because we are not gonna through the legal system get ourselves through this.
We're not gonna arrest and convict our way out of this.
Exactly, and I know that the state has recently passed some legislation around primary prevention through the Alcohol Drug Policy Commission. I know everyone wants to focus just on fentanyl, which is, I understand that. One pill can kill. I understand all those things. But I think when you're looking at a city like Tualatin, who is one of the farthest communities from city seat or county seat to get resources and those sorts of things, investing in more systemic ways to improve the health outcomes and all the social determinants of health for our community members, we have to look more broadly. And so I just would like to say that.
I don't think you'll get disagreement from any of the three of us, but the ability to fund additional programs right now is very strained by the conversation we were just having. And I think there's ways, particularly on the public health side, that the county could lead more efforts, but would need more resources to do so.
Okay, thank you.
I live in Sherwood, so just about as far from the county as Tualatin.
Well,
so I'm with you.
Yes, I think there are a lot of creative solutions that could be come up with, and I would really encourage you to, after this election, reach out to some people working in some of these areas and find ways that maybe we can have some grassroots efforts, because we all understand that we need public safety. We need the services that you all provide. That is not what I'm saying. But I think if we continue to look at just a point in time, we are not ever going to get there, and we are going to fail our kids. And one last thing, you can make data say about anything, so I'd encourage you to be really careful about that slide. I think that could be really traumatizing for people about the 17%. You need to add some language to that, in my opinion.
Councilor Sacco, you have, we'll go with that. Councilor Brooks.
Thanks for coming and presenting. I appreciate the need, and I've had an up-close look at the community corrections since I worked there as a social worker and helped families that were involved in the drug treatment program that was going on until COVID. And as a social worker, I was a clinical social worker, and as a community practice social worker, I have a lot of the similar concerns that Councilor Hilliard just mentioned. My first question, there's a few things that kind of jumped out at me when we were speaking today. One was, if we could look at the slide that had all the pieces on it. There we go. So we're looking at this 16%, and then we have this list of prosecution, countrywide law enforcement, et cetera. And I'm just curious in those, what percentages these budget numbers are. I think that when we have these conversations, especially at this level, it's really important to understand the percentage of money that's going to different things. We have Ride Along Mental Health here in our police department, who we get to share with Tigard once in a while, which is really great in addition, but to me, it's not the infrastructure that's needed around mental health. And my biggest concern right now is that we are facing drastic changes and cuts to our state that's going to outsize federally, that's going to outsize a lot of the things that we do to support our community. And I'm just curious what the thinking is around how does this department integrate and help people that may be dealing with poverty issues, like petty thefts, and those types of things, especially when we're cutting so much. I'm also really concerned about, like we just heard about, the increasing rate of homelessness, where we have an eviction rate now without eviction prevention programs. That's going to be, we have like 15 people being evicted and 10 people being housed. So we're going the wrong direction, no matter if we're building all these units or not. And then, of course, we always have that conversation here about how does our community interact with the services that are available. So I don't know if probation and parole has become more electronic for check-ins, or if people have to take a bus across town to Hillsborough to meet their officer while they're trying to do their DHS stuff for their kids, while they're trying to do their housing, you know what I mean?
That's, on that point, Councilor Brooks, I'll just share that we're working very hard to bring the community corrections efforts in our county sort of up to current expected standards, which involve making contact in the community. That's a somewhat of a change in approach from Washington County in the past, and is in part because of the really serious nature of many of the crimes that have been committed by people that are on being supervised in the community corrections area. And that is something that we need to do, and we know we need to do, but it requires additional resources. It takes more time to go find and visit someone in their home and see what's going on than it does to call them up or send them an email, which in the past has met the state standards, but does not meet the mark.
Right. So I am not saying that it should be less robust or more robust. I'm saying that the touch points
should be more convenient
be
and accessible.
Should be accessible equally to no matter where you live in this county. That's what I'm saying.
Got it.
So I don't want to, it's not about giving somebody a boost that doesn't deserve a boost or any of this kind of stuff. And then I'm also, like, some of the things that we talked about as well were about the need for that youth can be rehabilitated, and I also think that adults can be rehabilitated, and I've worked with people that are
That's
adults.
the primary focus of our community corrections division. If you look at their mission and purpose, it is that.
I think it's important to say it when we're presenting though too as well, because
Appreciate that.
To me, it sounds strange to just hear about kids and their possibilities, and not adults and their possibilities. So, and then I'm just curious about, as we face these cuts and as people face more and more dire circumstances around poverty outcomes and what we're going to be facing as these cuts come through our communities, is there a way that we are going to be strategic around working with people that are falling on hard times, that are not getting the help that they need when we have a really limited infrastructure that is going to continue to become worse and worse?
I mean, you and Councilor Hillier are both bringing up, in my mind, some of the most significant issues our country has
Yes.
in both mental health and the way that we treat and support people with both mental health challenges and also with substance use issues. You're bringing up poverty, and to me, that's an income distribution problem, and you're bringing up houselessness, which is interspersed in all of that. I will just be very honest with you. We, as a public safety levy, are not going to solve all those problems in Washington County through this levy. I think that they need to be solved. I want to continue working to solve them, and I think the county commission, the city councils all have a role, and so does the federal government and all of that. There are a lot of things that need to change for all those things to get solved, but it's not going to be all through, unfortunately, the public safety levy.
No, I don't think it will all be through the public safety levy, but I'm curious about what the public safety levy is going to bring to that conversation. And if that's been thought of through that way, especially as these times are changing.
Yeah, where it can support.
Where it can, and where we're planning for the future of it needing to, because we're going to be in a very different situation, and I don't think people have not buckled up yet.
You know, these are wonderful comments, and I agree with everything that's been said, because we absolutely want to get upstream to address these issues. I want to emphasize, and I just want to raise a little bit of an alarm bell. Our public safety system in Washington County is not doing very well right now. And so, to give you an example, there have been over 2,000 people this year so far released from the jail due to overcrowding. There's not enough room. These are 2,000 people charged with crimes who a judge has determined should be in the jail. The law presumes they should remain in the jail. You would want them to be in the jail. I get an email every Sunday telling me who's getting released, and it's sobering to see that. That's just one data point. The prosecutors in my office, we get about 12,000 criminal cases that come to us every year from throughout the county, including Tualatin. Our caseloads are about double the caseloads of our counterparts in Multnomah County. We only have 47 attorneys positions. We should have somewhere closer to 60 to 70. Multnomah County, to put it in perspective, has somewhere in the high 90s. Our caseloads are very comparable to Multnomah County in terms of total volume of cases, but we have about half the personnel to process it. And those are just a couple data points to mention to you. So as much as we want to try and be upstream and preventative and want to do that, when we were constructing this levy, every cent we were thinking, okay, how much more can we get to do all the good work, but then how much more of a burden can we put on the taxpayers, because we know times are tough.
It's a balance.
And it's such a difficult balance. We didn't start off at 66. I forget where we started off. It was 50-something. And so I struggle with what's the right amount. Boy, if we had 67 cents instead of 66, we could do a little bit more prevention, and it'd be amazing. But every bit more we ask, we're pulling money away from taxpayers, and that's food on the table for a lot of families and tough times. So that's the balance we tried to strike, and I hope to God we got the right balance. But just wanted to give you that perspective that the system is not doing very well right now. It's a struggle.
We made an adjustment right at the, to be honest, right at the tail end. We were going to move forward with 65 cents, and there were some critical services that were sort of more in I would say the not direct in the arrest and prosecute space, and we made the decision to, and I think it was a little surprising to some members of the levy leadership team, we made the decision to go 1 extra cent so that we didn't have to make that choice, because we didn't like that choice. But where do you draw the line? There's always that question. You all struggle with that with your own decision making, and we felt like this was the place to draw the line for now. Try to shore up what we have.
Okay, I appreciate that, and there's nothing in me that says that we shouldn't have a strong levy that works. So I am asking these questions out of curiosity because I don't know a lot about how this is designed. And when I have that, that doesn't give me a lot of information about where those percentages are going. So I think I would like to know more about that.
I did hear that ask, so we'll
What-
get you, you
yeah.
want the breakdown of the 16%. You want to
That's
know
right.
how much of
Yep.
it is being used in each of those, or what is programmed for each of those sections on the right? Is that the ask?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the history of the Community Correction Center and population and how much it's grown or shrunk and over maybe 10 years. And then, just so we can see what's going on over there and understand it better. And I've worked in that correction center. It's a great correction center. And I know a lot about how things operate. And I know a lot of the really great strengths about it and also some of the things that aren't as strong. So I just always like to have a lot of information because it helps me better be supportive of levies such as this. Thank you.
And please know that we appreciate all of your questions and all of your perspectives and even the pushback, because we need to be held to account on how we got here and what we plan to do in the future.
Yeah, I just think we're deeply concerned and we've seen a change in our own community right now. And to support this, I want to be able to answer questions from all the segments. So I
Absolutely.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Councilor Reyes?
Yeah, I agree with the counselors, my fellow counselors, because I see that 16%, it makes me think you're only investing 60% out of 80, you know, like into these programs. And then if you're asking us to support at $6 per month or $21 per month this levy for 5 years, there's gotta be some more explanation than, oh, 60% goes to a list of these but like, what is the percentage? Or like, why shouldn't I just give it to a local program here, a nonprofit that needs the $6 a month that are doing prevention, domestic violence support, that are sheltering, that are, you know, educating. So those are the conversations that I think I have that with my family, but I'm thinking people's like, why should I give or $20 a month or $230 a year to the county as a levy, and it's the problem's still there. There's no change. It's not even invested in my community because the majority of the money is like in Hillsborough or for some other part of the county, not so much here in Tualatin. So I mean, these are things that I feel like they were unclear when I'm looking at that. It's like you're putting us together with the entire county, but you know, I feel like I need to know why should I give you the money, government, and not give it to a nonprofit that is actually helping here in my community?
I would argue
locally.
you should
So
probably
those
be
are things that I'm
advocating for both. The public safety system, though, really is a system. And you know, coming from a local city near Tualatin, in my background, all of the cities in the county are more reliant on the public safety resources that are provided for in this levy than you may realize. And particularly around the jail, community corrections, and the district attorney's office, and then the specialty services that the sheriff's office provides. Many of the cities may provide 1 or 2 members of, for example, some of the specialty teams, sometimes none. But the cities all benefit from those things when you have a very specialized need in your city. That's who you call.
And this is likely common knowledge, but I'll just say, wherever you live in the county, we serve you, and an example of that is Chief Pickering is an exceptional chief over an incredibly professional police department, but they do not have enough resources to have a SWAT team, for instance. And so instead of that, we have an interagency tactical team that they will provide resources to Sherwood, Tigard, Beaverton, Hillsborough, and the sheriff's office. And while we provide most of the leadership and resources for it, all of the cities combine, and they all go wherever the greatest need is. And so during a critical incident in the city, they're going to be right there. And we have a lot of interagency teams that work like that. It's just an example of, just to let you know that we are committed to the city of Tualatin.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. No, I like I just, those are questions of
Yes.
people out there who are listening to us.
Yes, you have to ask them, and I appreciate it because it gives me an opportunity to, share some information that might not be widely known.
I'll make a confession. This is the first city council we've spoken to about the levy. So you're getting
Yes.
this is our first run through.
Yeah, so trust
Sheriff and I
me.
were like, do you want to go first?
Do you
Is Commissioner Snyder going to talk or just answer
Yeah.
questions? So, this is
So
our.
now I understand the assignment and what to go do
Well,
better
you're helping
with.
us out because
Yeah.
when we go meet with Tigard, we're going to have it dialed in for sure.
Really?
Well, you know.
Maybe. Thank you.
Other questions, comments? All right, I have two. One is, I have the same feelings similar to Council President Pratt about the county's budget condition. I was very concerned about that sheriff had vacant positions eliminated, then had additional positions taken away, both sheriff, sworn sheriffs and technical folks. I know there was a change to DA's Barton's office where a bunch of people got transferred from the county to the state. So I'd hate to do 2 steps forward, get the levy, approved. Everybody's like, oh, okay. The jail will be fully staffed, all 3 pods are going, chugging away. And the next year, Sheriff Massey takes another $4 million hit. So that's my concern. I know you can't predict the future as far as tax revenue coming in, but it's going to be similar to the library levy where what's looming over the accountant in our group is, the fiscal condition of the county and approving these levies, but then in a year or two, Kevin and Caprice are in the same boat they're in now. I mean, they both know I'm fully supportive of public safety here. I have always been. Commissioner Snyder, I know as a mayor he is now. It's just that budget condition looming over our heads is what is hurting us. And, telling the public that, supporting this levy and, the jail's gonna be fully staffed, 3 pods open, the DA's office has mostly what he needs. I know you're still fighting that fight to get where they want to be. So that's why we look forward to working with you folks over the coming few weeks to get that message out and get people supportive of it. And just those folks who are, super geeks in the county's budget condition can be rest assured that, the jail's running fine, the sheriff is doing fine in unincorporated Washington County, the tactical teams are there, and the DA has the resources he needs to prosecute those crimes that need to be prosecuted. So that's my ask. My second one is the much easier question. Is a certain person still going to the FBI Academy and when?
Oh.
He's standing back there.
John Cook is going, and
Yeah.
he will be leaving right around the 25th, I think, of September.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So John's going. All right.
He's going.
All right.
I'm kicking him out.
Yeah, but I know there's a deal part of that.
There sure is. He has
All
to
right.
come back.
Yes. Well, congratulations to John. All right. Thank you, the 3 of you. Thank you.
Thank
all.
you
Yeah,
so much.
Have a good evening.
So we probably scared Lisa and Commissioner Trees. Welcome, Lisa, Commissioner Trees. This is Lisa Tattersall from
Good
Washington
evening.
County.
Good evening, I'm Pam Trace, Commissioner for Washington County and District 2. And before, I do want to give you just a little bit of background here. We have the 2 levies, and 4 of the commissioners split up the 2 levies. So Commissioner Willie and I have been working on the library levy, and Commissioner Fye and Commissioner Snyder have been working on the public safety levy. So that's why you're seeing who you're seeing tonight. So I just wanted to make that clear. And yes, this is our first time.
At least you got a preview. Aren't you glad I called you second?
Yeah. Maybe.
Welcome.
Good
Thank
evening.
you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councilors. My name's Lisa Tattersall. I'm with Washington County Cooperative Library Services, here to share educational information about a proposed local option levy for libraries, Measure 345. I should add that as a public employee, unlike the three folks that were here before, I am subject to political restrictions under Oregon law, so I'm sharing neutral and non-advocacy information only. Commissioner Trees can say whatever she wants. And I hope I got this right, yeah. So in this presentation, I'll be covering how public library service is delivered in the county and the current funding. I'll also talk about what the proposed levy would fund, how much it would cost, and what would happen if the levy did not pass. Here in Washington County, library service is provided through a partnership between WCCLS and 9 cities and 3 nonprofit associations that all operate local libraries. WCCLS is the primary source of funding for local libraries and also provides central support services that efficiently link these independently operated libraries together, creating a countywide system that is available to about 600,000 people. There are 16 full-service locations in the county, from Banks in the northwest corner of the county all the way down to Tualatin and Sherwood here in the south. In addition, our digital library is available 24/7 at wccls.org. In fiscal year 24-25, the local option levy represents 45% of WCCLS revenue. The remaining 55% is a transfer from the county's general fund. The majority of WCCLS total funding is directed towards library funding allocations at 67%. The remaining 33% of WCCLS expenses are for the central services that link libraries together. The levy would fund programs, resources, and materials that are designed to support student success with reading and learning. Some of the events and resources available to kids and teens include book clubs, Oregon Battle of the Books or OBOB events, maker spaces, STEAM programs. Libraries also offer resources for parents and caregivers, kindergarten readiness, test prep tools, and free access to fast and reliable internet. Over 10,000 students participated in library programs designed to support reading, learning, and student success last year. WCCLS has issued over 83,000 library cards to public school students since 2019. The levy would also fund the central services that efficiently link libraries together. Library users can use the shared online catalog to access over 1.5 million library items, reserving them for pickup at any of the 16 locations across the system. WCCLS courier trucks delivered 2.5 million books and other items to libraries in fiscal year 23-24. In addition, WCCLS provides online learning tools such as job hunting resources, downloadable ebooks and audiobooks, digital newspapers and magazines, as well as streaming video, all available 24/7 to library users. The levy would fund open hours at 16 full-service public library locations across the county. Most libraries in the system are open at least 6 days a week and provide access to 1.5 million items in the shared collection. Last year, there were over 2.4 million visits to WCCLS libraries, and total checkouts exceeded 7.2 million. By borrowing items rather than purchasing them, library users saved $140 million last year. In addition to providing books and other materials, library buildings serve as cooling spaces for the community or warming spaces in the wintertime. Users do not need a library card to access public computers and Wi-Fi, study rooms, and meeting rooms. The levy would also fund children's reading events, including story times, some of which are offered in multiple language, including Spanish and Chinese. All WCCLS libraries offer regular events and programs for kids, as well as an annual summer reading program. Many libraries also offer interactive play areas that promote learning and social interaction. In fiscal year 23-24, WCCLS libraries hosted over 200,000 participants at 6,000 in-person events for kids and teens. Okay, so if passed, Measure 345 would replace a 22-cent levy that is expiring in June of 2026. The proposed replacement levy would be a fixed rate of 37 cents per $1,000 of assessed value, and that levy would run from July 2026 to June 2031. In 2026, typical homeowners with an assessed value, that's not market value, of $348,600 would pay an estimated total of $129 annually, or $10.75 per month. If you look at it as an annual increase over the current levy rate, for the typical owner, the annual increase would be $54 per year, or $4.55 per month, more than the current levy. If the levy did not pass, reductions in library services would occur. These reductions would include reduced open hours, fewer book purchases, less reading events, and a reduced level of services that link libraries together. Some of these services that would be reduced include fewer ebooks, less robust online catalog, less frequent deliveries between libraries, and disrupted access to technology. Thank you. And we have more information on our website at wccls.org/levy.
I'm here for questions, but I do want to, before we get to that, I couldn't agree with you more, Mayor. And by the way, thank you for Mayor and all of the council for having us here tonight. I appreciate it. And I think it's really important to have the time where electeds can talk to electeds. That's really key to me. You're right about our budget. You are right about the fragility of that budget and where that's not going to go away. We are looking closely at what our revenue options are. Commissioner Snyder alluded to that. That is going to be staff-driven with electeds working as well. So we are trying to solve this problem, but I'm not going to pretend that it won't be a problem moving forward. I would say that it's my goal to make sure that we are engaging our cities in the process when we are budgeting, so that we can look to where we can help one another through this process, because you all live in the county too, and I recognize that you are as interested in having a healthy county as you are in having a healthy city. We can't, neither one can exist without the other. And so I am committed to looking into the future and how we can work more closely to solve these problems. But you're right, it is an issue, and our general fund is suffering, and we do have to look at new revenue options. So, questions?
Questions for the commissioner or Lisa? Councilor Brooks, and then Councilor Hillier, Council President Hillier. Hillier, you got promoted. Council President Pratt.
I'm having trouble.
Thank you for the presentation and for all the detailed information. It's very helpful. One thing that I don't want to lose in the conversation, especially just we were talking about that public safety, part of public safety in my mind is this library in our community. While we're sitting here in a 100-degree day and face these extreme heat days, we are also discussing the benefits, the costs and benefits of eviction prevention versus having people live in their cars for 6 to 8 months on average when they're evicted, and in parking lots instead of homes. And so, you know, the place that we have our cooling center is our library. And as these conditions become more concerning, we're going to be facing reductions in services. So this is part of our web too. And I just want you to think about that when we're moving through. And I also want to mention that like the presentation, the details, we have professional librarians with expertise that we very, very much value. That's not the same as somebody that knows how to read books. So preserving our expertise and our professionalism while we surf very turbulent times that are coming is something that I don't want to lose prioritization of. And so those are my big concerns in this moment, especially as we're facing deep reductions in healthcare, social services, and the rest, which affects people's basic needs.
Thank you, Councilor Brooks. And I will tell you that I'm co-chair of our Advisory Council on Racial Equity. And we had one of our meetings, Lisa came and did a presentation on a survey that went out to different communities. One member of that group got a little sideways, I think might be fair to say. And because her comment was, I know that you did not reach into the people that I represent. These individuals are living on the edge, and I don't believe that they were represented in your survey. And the next words out of her mouth was, for the people that I work with, the libraries are more trusted than the food bank.
That's right.
And frankly, that statement has stuck with me for a very long time. And I use that comment because to your point, our library, when people are in need, they go to the library. They go to the library for resources. They may be asking, where do I go for food? Where do I go for help with my child? May I use, where is the computer that I can use? Where can I get cool? Where can I get warm?
Yep.
So you're absolutely right. The library is part of our safety net in this community. I am an avid user of Libby. I love Libby, and I love the opportunity to read as much as I want to. And that's one level of use. But it's really important that all of us as electeds remember what that entire web looks like. So thank you.
Thank you. And I just also want to remind people too that as these stressors increase, it's harder for kids to learn. So these supplemental learning and hands-on opportunities that we have at the libraries currently are so fundamental. And also language, citizenship, et cetera, are so fundamental to our community, especially with Hillsborough being so far away. So I appreciate you coming tonight, and I appreciate that we re-looked at this budget after Commissioner Snyder came as well and put in better numbers that we can deal with and not taking losses as a community, which is very important to us. Thank you.
I will
And I know
pass
that's
that.
your district.
I will pass that along to Commissioner Willie because I'm afraid we were probably the biggest pests to Lisa in this process.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I totally understand. Thank you, Pam.
Council President Pratt.
All righty. So this is really a nitpicky one, but is the levy going from 22 cents a thousand to 47?
37.
Oh, 37. That's why I have the wrong number
What do you
here.
do like this?
Thank you. That makes sense. I'm not so nitpicky. Okay, so Commissioner Trees, I have to ask this question that I should
Please,
ask a
please.
year ago. Okay, so the library, and I'll stay off transportation tonight, but this was a serial levy back in the 70s. It went into your general fund, I think with ballot measure 50, and you guys have always honored that money that these voters voted for going to the libraries.
No,
This year-
we're talking about the libraries, not MISTIP, right?
Yes,
Just-
yes,
just-
libraries. We're staying on libraries
Don't get me
tonight.
going on that.
Don't, yeah, you get the two of us in
Just wanna make
transportation, it's
sure.
gonna be a real long night. But anyway, I'm talking about the library levy from, I think, 76.
Okay.
That ended up in the general fund, and you guys have always honored that and given the money to WCCLS. And now this year, you pulled out that $3.9 million of that money. And I'm just wondering, this one bothers me just because I feel like it's money people specifically voted for a specific purpose. So I'm just trying to understand why you did that at the county level.
And I think Lisa could probably give us the exact numbers, and I'm maybe shooting myself in the foot, but you will always get honesty from me, and that is, this is not the first year.
Okay.
So just saying,
Okay,
thank you.
so
thank
why
you-
was it done then?
Thank you for the buy, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna say, no, it
Yeah.
wasn't the first year. And the issue is not frankly dissimilar to MISTIP. And that,
Right.
and it is in the same, I would put it into the same category of commitment in the, I believe it was the 90s, when Measure 5 and Measure 50 came forward. And what we have not been able to do is to balance our budget without looking at reductions across the board. And Council President, yes, it's dramatic, and yes, it was a commitment that we made back then, but I will also say that commitment was such a different time too. We didn't have 7-8% inflation rates. We didn't have, none of us were facing the budget issues that we face today. So it's my belief that we should be looking at, well, I believe that we should be looking at tax reform across the
We could probably
universe
all
of
agree on
tax
that,
here.
yeah.
And I don't think anybody here would disagree with that. So, and while I respect and frankly, in my very first race, I campaigned on keeping those promises. And it wasn't until I got into the job 6 years later, 5 years later, that I realized that those promises were for that time. And it's hard to keep those same promises in those same ratios in today's world. So I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you, but I would say that we need a new system as we move forward, and that's true for all of us.
Okay, and now I'll go into another tough question, and I'll leave you alone.
Please.
Okay. Our library, like Councilor Brooks alluded to, we don't have a community service center. We don't have a lot of social services, hint, hint, in East Washington County. And so our library serves a lot more purposes
living
than maybe Beaverton's library does or Hillsborough. So, and we have a lot of people that use it here because of the hours. So now with this new allocation, you know, we don't know what the end result will be, but we've heard that we might have limited service hours and that some of the autonomy of the book selection is possibly going to be taken away, so that takes away our uniqueness. So we're actually getting possibly less service, but we're asking people to pay more money. So, and I fully support this, I'll just let you know in advance, but I want to know what we
How
can
do we say this?
How do we tell people that it's worth the extra money when it appears we might be getting less?
So there were a couple questions in there,
Yes.
a couple comments in there, and I think that the first one might have been related to the new allocation process. And by the way, Commissioner Willie and myself, we have been involved with the team through this process as well. So it's so complex. I think I understand most of it, but there has been a pretty dramatic change. And Lisa, please correct me if I'm not right here. When we looked at usage patterns for the library, we looked at our circulation rates. Well, circulation rates, because so much has changed in the library world. I mentioned earlier using Libby. You know, it's a whole different world. That was not a really appropriate indicator for usage patterns. So we're trying something new as a result. We're looking at our geographic service population. It may not work out either, frankly. And this is what we're hoping that it does, but I think it's incumbent upon the county. I think it's incumbent upon our WCCLS to make sure we're watching those pieces, to make sure it is reflective, and the allocation process as a result is also in the correct framework. As far as the collections and moving collections from decentralized to centralized, what we'll end up doing is saving about $4 million a year. That correct?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
I can add more flavor
Okay.
in it.
And I understand the concern about losing the autonomy. and losing that piece. But I think that if we can work, we are a cooperative library service. We, from the very get-go, we are designed to work together to meet everybody's needs. And I think that the collection process is going to have to be informed by all of our local libraries to be successful and to get the services to the people that you serve in your community. So,
And the only thing I would add is that, thank you, and I think is that we're working with all of the library directors across the system to develop the process for what the centralization looks like. And so starting next month, in September, we'll be working with all of the library directors on the RFP to bring in the consulting firm and guide the staff engagement process and the technical advice as we build the new centralized system. So it's really important that we do it together. And I think one of the cool things about our system is that each library has their own strength that they've cultivated over the years. And as you've talked about, not everyone always travels all over the county to access all of the different services. And so one of the interesting opportunities with this is that if one library has really cultivated a particular specialty, that is something that we can learn from and then hopefully replicate across the system. And so we hope to share our strengths across the system to benefit more folks. The allocation amount for Tualatin for all the libraries would be increased, yet your cost to deliver service would go down because your cost to provide centralization collections would be something that the county would take on. And so there is a net benefit in the ability to direct resources to other local priorities.
I've just got to follow up with one last question, sorry, but so the people in Tualatin will end up paying more if this levy passes. So what will they get in return at our library? Will we get more or are we getting less?
first of all, we're surviving.
Well, yes.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to be honest, I hate to say it like that, but that's really true. And, but at the same time, they will be getting more. We're going to ensure our basic services. We've got other components that are the growth aspect. But this is, we're facing new issues now. And I'm just going to be straight. I know that. I make that face too, so. Would you like to add to that? What?
No library will be getting less revenue.
Yeah.
And every library will be seeing an increase.
But we're looking, this is a 5-year levy too. So we're looking to what the future will hold, and that's really important as well. So I think that that's something that we have to hold on to. And I'm sorry, Councilor Hillier, for, she made a face over here and I had to agree.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for your questions.
Councilor Reyes and Councilor Gonzalez.
You say you're facing, I'm sorry, sometimes when they say we're facing different issues, what are those different issues?
Well, I don't think that you mean different issues from?
Yeah, you just mentioned right now, a couple seconds ago, we're facing different issues.
We're facing increased costs. That's what I meant to say. It's different, and whether they're labor costs.
So cost is an issue, labor. Like, I guess elaborate a little bit on what are those issues.
I can speak to the increasing
ahead,
demand on
please.
services.
Thank you.
So I think that, like the costs in general are increased, as you all are well aware. Costs for everything are more, but I think the complexity of the needs that our libraries are serving have increased as well. And I'm sure you were talking earlier about, libraries are acting as cooling centers. Your library has a wonderful maker space. All of our libraries are acting to fill in a lot of the gaps for other social services that don't exist. And we're also at the same time still doing story time and providing books and doing all of those traditional services. We're also helping people navigate all of the new technology that comes out, but it feels like we're never letting any old services go. Do you know what I mean? So as our world gets more complicated and the challenges that we're dealing with as a society continue to evolve and get more complex, we're not really dropping any of our core services. We just continue to look at how else can we help serve the community. Also, we've had community growth as well, just the population has grown. So I think just the complexity of services that library are providing and the challenges continue to
One interesting example of that to me is the use of electronic books and how people might read on their Kindle, or you borrow a library book and it can go to your Kindle and you can use it there. That cost of borrowing the book, what is the differential between, it's
huge.
unbelievable. It's like,
We budget about $4 million for our ebook collection centrally, which is more than all of the libraries combined spend on their print books. And so you think like we're still buying print books, people still want those, and people also want digital content. So we're basically doubled our collection, how much we're providing and how much we're spending. And so one print book, don't quote me on this because it's a little rusty, but it's something like, $15 or something like that. A digital book can cost anywhere from $60 to $80 to like almost $200 per copy.
isn't that, and it's counterintuitive. I before I came into this, I would have thought it was less expensive, but the contracts to provide those books are very high. So there's a key example of differences.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Gonzalez.
In your presentation, you had listed, I'm just curious, what do you think the average home value is in Tualatin? Just curious, what do you think?
Well, we have the assessed value.
Yeah,
Do you know?
I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
I
It's
thought this
because-
might be a
it's
trick
because
question.
It
It's-
kind of is a little bit, because the sample that you use in this presentation, though I'm in support of this levy, but
Thank
I
you.
know we want to get it to the finish line with some.
Sure.
But you list a value assessed of $348,000, which is not anywhere near to present $129 per year value,
Mhm.
which makes it sound like it's a lower cost. But our average houses in Tualatin, they're almost 600,000. Thereabouts. I mean, okay, let's just go 500. But this is a really low example that you're using, to make it sound lower.
It's assessed.
But that's what.
It's based on the R&B value?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
And the other question I have for you is, what steps will be taken to make sure that the funds aren't diverted to unrelated projects?
By law, like if the levy funds, we have to spend them on what's in the ballot title.
yeah, the ballot title is king.
All right, thank you.
And that's in any situation.
We're facing property taxes, the Tualatin Valley Fire happened, school bond, the library levy, the public safety levy, and then it's coming at everywhere.
I agree.
Thank you.
Councilor Hager.
Just one last thing. I know my daughter who lives in Washington DC, or goes to school, appreciates the Libby books, so I'll tell her how much value she's getting. But I will share with you what our funders have said to us from the federal government right now. You need to start doing bake sales. So if that's of any help, I don't know. It was really helpful for me, so I'm sure it's equally as
How's your
helpful for
brownie
you.
recipe?
Yeah, damn good.
Councilor Sacco.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would love just a little bit more information about this centralized collection, and I understand how it's going to save money. However, I'm just concerned about when we say that we're not going to have reduced services, it does seem like that this point is taking away some of the maybe the accessibility to certain resources that our unique community member makeup has today, because our librarians understand what our community needs are, and the folks coming in there asking for certain books. I'm sure this isn't the first time you're hearing any of this. So can you just talk a little bit about exactly how that's all going to work? I just really don't fully understand that, and how we can make sure that we're still supporting our community members' needs.
Absolutely. It's a great question, and it's, I think, the number one question that folks are asking across the system. I think that, and I don't have all the immediate answers to say it's going to be this, this, and this, because we need to co-create that with our library staff partners as we work on the process. So I think it is really, this is like a standard operating procedure for any sort of standard county library system of our size. So the model we're moving to is definitely not really radical or cutting edge or anything. It's a pretty normal practice. I think we're a little unusual in that we've persisted in this model for this long. And so there's a lot of models we can look at in terms of how a larger system will make sure they get that unique input from each building, because we need that, because the library, there's like 500 library staff across the county that work in these 16 buildings. They are the main interface with our community, and it is so critical that we have ways to hear from them about what they need. I just haven't, like, thinking about when I used to be a reference librarian, like a long time ago, back in the day, and I had, the example I always think of is I had a veteran come in, and he said to me, every time I come in, you don't have any PTSD books on the shelf. And he said, I can't wait, like, I just need one, but I come in, and that, it always, I'll never forget that moment, and I just picked up the phone and I called the person who orders those books, and I was like, you need to order some freaking PTSD books. We need a lot of copies of this. And so it's just that, I don't know, that's just an example of, like, it's really important that staff at the library have the ability to let us know what they need, because we know that, like, A, it feels really bad to not be able to offer your community what they want, and B, that's how we are sure we do a good job, is if we hear from the staff. So, but we'll develop those systems, and we're happy to come back and share more information along the way if that's helpful too.
And I think through the librarians and our communities, it's an iterative process. We're going to have to work to get good at it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that I have faith that it will work.
Any other questions or comments? Councilor Brooks?
I appreciate the conversation around the reframing of the counts. And I'm just curious, kind of, you know, our library's close to the freeway, has a lot of different things. So if you're counting from the population of the city, are you counting from the users that go in and out of the library? Are you counting from the books that are taken out? That's what it was, and now it's just a general count?
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's an estimate of a 10-minute radius from the library and what I know, what that service population would look like.
It would be your entire city's population is assigned to your library, plus then it would look at who uses the library around you, and then each of those precincts are, I'm happy to come back and provide, if that would be helpful, some more information. Because it would be that, it's your base is your city's population, and then we looked at library usage and then assigned precincts based on that. So if it was outside of your city, like in unincorporated areas, those would get assigned to you based on library usage. If there was a conflict where it looked like people would go either way, then we looked at the travel time. But again, I'm happy to come back.
I'm why it wasn't stepped in with the loans, instead of having it 100% changing from one measurement to another, to have it stepping into a new system to make sure that it's correlating properly with the actual materials lended. And because we have over our population just coming into the city of Tualatin to work. 30,000 people a
One
day.
of the things that I've asked for, and we're in a really early stages of seeing how this will play out. But what I've asked for is there a way to continue to watch what our circulation rates were while we look at this new allocation process, so that we can balance and see where the disparities are and adjust as we move forward. It seems to me that again, this is a big change.
Yeah.
And I believe strongly that we're going to have to keep our eyes on it closely and make sure that the allocation process holds up to scrutiny.
Yeah, for me, especially with the increases in technology and data collecting, that to just move so quickly from one to the other doesn't make a lot of sense to me, when I think that we're going to be able to have a richer way of counting in about 5 minutes.
I agree with you.
And we did look at usage, and I think that's it's something that we'll keep an eye on, absolutely.
And then I guess my other question too is just around getting more information about the numbers. Like when you said like the 4 million, or what was it, 4 million?
I mean, on savings on collection?
On the savings, yes. To have a breakdown of what that means.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're saving the best for last, I think.
All right. Well, they've asked the tough questions. I'm actually going to do the nice thing here. And thank you and Commissioner Snyder and your fellow commissioners for listening to us. Commissioner Snyder, last time he was here, he got beat up hard about the funding mechanism. And you guys listened and changed the funding mechanism. So we're, in my mind, 99% of the way. There's still a few things that certain 3 cities are concerned about, but tremendous stride was made, so I want to thank you very much for that. There's one of those rare things where you get a nice thank you, pat on the back.
Thank you. Well, I think that, we were trying to listen and staff was trying to listen. And it took several runs at getting the information and getting it into our brains and working together. So, but I do believe that we can do this into the future together as well.
Okay. And then the other thank you is to Sherilyn and Jerry Ann. Sherilyn and Jerry Ann have been representing Tualatin at these meetings and advocating fiercely, listening to the city council, listening to residents, and passing on our feelings and advocating tremendously for us. So I just want to thank both of you for that. They've been our funnel of information, and I very much appreciate all the updates you've given us over the last few weeks. I'm not going to be, they covered all the things I had in my mind. I just want to, again, thank you for listening. I'm looking forward to, I think, the next funding meeting's August 19th. Okay? Because that's a critical part in my mind, and whether, we're full 100, on board, let's go do this. And also want to know, how we're going to get that message out, as Councilor Gonzalez and other councilors mentioned, how to get the message out that we fully support and that we can all rally behind. So I'm looking forward to that in the coming weeks.
Great. Thank you for your time tonight, and thank you for your questions. Thank you for pushing, because we all get better when we all push. So it is appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. All right, so that brings us to public hearings. I'm just going to do a potty check, if you will. Do people want to pile through? Do you want to take a 5-minute break? Keep going? All right. All right, that brings us to a public hearing. Sure, just want to make sure. Ordinance 1451-25, adopting the 2045 Transportation System Plan. This is a public hearing for the, I was going to slow down here. This is a public hearing for the City Council to consider ordinance number 1451-25, adopting the 2045 Transportation System Plan and related amendments to the Tualatin Comprehensive Plan and Development Code. This is a public hearing, so I'm reading as the rules of the game here. First, the public hearing will be opened by city staff, and they will make a presentation. Next, the council will hear from members of the public who wish to testify in favor of the ordinance, followed by members of the public who wish to testify against the ordinance, followed by anyone else who would wish to testify. Upon conclusion of the public testimony, individual councilors may ask questions of city staff and any person who provided testimony. After council questions, the council will close the public portion of the hearing to consider the resolution. Upon conclusion of deliberations, the council will consider whether or not to adopt resolution number 5. No, what? It's an ordinance, isn't it a resolution? Yeah, because okay, the lingo here is a little messed up. We got to consider the ordinance number 1451-25. Does any member of City Council wish to abstain from participating in this hearing? All right. I'll now go ahead and open this public hearing on ordinance number 1451-25, and I invite Aaron and Mike already up there to start the city staff presentation. Welcome. Thank you for being patient.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. As you mentioned, this is a legislative public hearing to consider adoption of the 2045 Transportation System Plan and supporting amendments to the Comprehensive Plan and Development Code. Our technical expert is here tonight from Farron Paris. I just want to give a huge thank you to Brianna Calhoun for leading this effort. I'm also joined, like you said, by Mike McCarthy, our city engineer.
And looking at the time, I will minimize my part of the presentation, so go for it. But we are more than willing to answer any questions you or anyone else might have.
So to set the stage, I wanted to share an introductory statement from our TSP, which is, by 2045, Tualatin will have a modern, inclusive transportation system designed to make life easier and more enjoyable for everyone. Initiated in 2024, the TSP is a roadmap for creating a walkable, healthy, and sustainable city. It ensures that as Tualatin grows, the city's transportation options will remain accessible, safe, and connected for all users. So the first part of tonight's agenda serves as a summary of the TSP process. That will be followed by an overview of the supporting amendments and the legislative approval criteria for the TSP adoption. We will then review public comments submitted for the TSP update, and we will close with the Planning Commission recommendation and Council's consideration of Ordinance 1451-25. A transportation system plan brings together community members, staff, and council to establish a shared understanding of how the transportation system operates today, identifies needed improvements, and creates a vision for enhancing community mobility. It also provides a realistic understanding of what projects can be implemented and funded over the next 20 years. Tualatin's current TSP was last updated, was drafted in 2012, was adopted in 2012, then later updated in 2014, and had some small minor updates in 2019 and 2021. A key theme of the 2045 TSP is recognizing that our streets host more than just cars, which means completing the system for everyone. The 2045 TSP includes an update to our previous transportation goals and policies in the comprehensive plan to reflect new statewide legislation to address carbon emissions from transportation, as well as our changing community priorities. Largely, these goals were identified by input from the Community Advisory Committee, also known as our CAC, City Council, and the public outreach efforts. They also tie in seamlessly with Council's 2030 vision for an efficient, accessible, innovative, sustainable, and connected transportation system that effectively and safely meets the needs of our entire community. As such, these goals were used to develop a project prioritization framework for the types of investments that this plan recommends over the 20-year horizon. The city conducted extensive public engagement for the TSP, which was broken down into the 4 phases that you see here. This state also expanded TSP requirements in 2022 to incorporate equity into the engagement process, and this was achieved through focus group sessions with Spanish-speaking and BIPOC communities. Through this process, we heard that residents value a balanced transportation system that supports multiple modes of transportation. Community members showed strong enthusiasm for active transportation options like walking and biking, while also prioritizing driving as an option. Additional concerns were voiced regarding increased traffic congestion. These community perspectives were used to shape the TSP goals and project recommendations. As you can see on this slide, there were numerous events held throughout the city. It's not surprising that the large city events like Viva Tualatin and Pumpkin Regatta garnered the most participants. And we also engaged the community virtually through an online survey. At this point, I wish to recognize our dedicated Community Advisory Committee that consisted of 13 community members and 2 counselors. This group met 5 times to review and provide feedback on the development of the TSP. They were instrumental in providing local context to the transportation goals that we just discussed. And they also helped to identify key destinations, critical gaps in our transportation system, and potential projects. Tonight, we are joined by 2 of those members and the 2 from our council. So thank you for being a part of this project and for your contributions. I don't know if anybody would like to get up and speak on behalf of the CAC. You're welcome to do so.
Come on,
But I know it's
Nancy.
getting late.
Come on, Nancy. Well, I've got certificates for you, so does that motivate you to say something, Nancy? We'll say that part too, but about the committee though. You gotta come up with the mic. Surprise. Just talk about the committee part, not the ordinance itself.
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What was it like being on the committee?
Why did I want to be on the
Why did
committee?
you want to be on it and how was it?
Oh, because I am a very passionate transportation engineer. And I love my city and I felt like I had something to offer in making it better to get around in the city. And I'm an avid walker, I'm an avid cyclist. I also drive a car and sometimes I ride a bus, not very often. So I will say that the committee members were pretty diverse. We had, as well as we could do, I think. And the staff and the consultant were really great in engaging the committee. We had some really good meetings and activities, and what we said was heard, and the committee went great. It was great. Thank you. Is that
Thank you.
enough?
That was great.
Okay, thank you.
Well, so Nancy, on behalf of the city of Tualatin, I want to present you a certificate of appreciation. And then I got a whole bunch here, let's see.
We also have Justin Lindley here tonight.
Justin,
Yes,
you want to say anything or just take your certificate?
I will just add, she did a phenomenal job at talking about everything. And I would just add that the staff and the consultants did a fantastic job with that throughout the entire process. It was one of the better committees that I've been on. And then on the other side of it, she's the engineer, I do planning. And so I thought the consultant was really great, so good pick on that one. And the work that staff did again, phenomenal job.
Well, thank you for spending time over a year participating in the process.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you. That's me, let's do a picture. Yeah.
I need to get a little step stool so I can stand at Frank's or the mayor, I should say.
Well, it's in the background of this photo, so you actually are almost the same height. Cool, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, you said you want to say something?
Yeah, just really quick, I was on that 2012, I can't believe it's that long ago, committee, and anyway, I have to say, this was so well run by the consultants, the staff, and you're right, we had a super diverse group of people there, and every meeting, everybody was so engaged and, really cared about our community, so just thank you to everybody.
All right, and as mentioned, we did have 2 city councilors who represented council on the committee, so I want to give you your certificate also here, Council President Pratt
Can we get a picture with you?
and Councilor Gonzalez. Thank you.
And I will say, it was just a wonderful group to work with, and I want to thank each person for donating their time and their expertise to help us with this. So thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Reyes as an alternate. And thank you, everyone.
And then switching gears back to the planning context. A TSP is required for all cities and counties in Oregon to ensure compliance with state rules and regulations. This is a requirement that is included under Oregon Planning Goal 12, which is implemented through the Transportation Planning Rule in the Oregon Administrative Rules. On top of that, regional rulemaking and guidance found in the Oregon Transportation Plan, ODOT's TSP guidelines, and Metro's Transportation Plan also contribute to the TSP process. Locally, the TSP serves as the transportation component of our comprehensive plan and includes a thorough review of local plans and policies that shape land use and transportation in Tualatin. That would include things like the Climate Action Plan and the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Once the TSP is adopted, identified projects can be considered in the city's capital improvement plan for funding. On this slide, it's kind of a visual about how the TSP project list is created. Basically, preliminary work for the TSP included an inventory of our multimodal network to study gaps in the network and the level of service being provided by each transportation element. We then identified potential projects that were adopted under previous plans, were needed for safety, or address some of the community's desires. This generated a large list of identified projects that were filtered through a few different lenses to fulfill both state roles, local priorities, and funding constraints, which we'll walk through on the following slides. Largely, projects were prioritized based off of how well they address the TSP goals that we previously mentioned. The transportation planning role also requires the prioritization of projects that reduce vehicle miles traveled and will benefit underserved populations. These projects were then further refined into a financially constrained project list. This was achieved by identifying available funding and project cost estimating. This resulted in a list of projects that can be reasonably funded during the planning horizon. The state sets that bar at 125% of projected revenues for transportation. The end goal is a list that is balanced to cover a range of transportation modes, geographic areas, and costs to take advantage of these funding opportunities. So in the end, we identified 113 projects. You'll see that a large percentage support active transportation projects. The TSP also identified transit projects to improve service reliability and amenities for the network, and complete street projects to address bottleneck and safety concerns. Do you want to add anything about our project list?
I think the complete street projects are the biggest ones that get to some of the bigger problems. The active transportation tended to be smaller ones, and the transit were things that we would be doing on a road system. This also includes an element of pushing for transit from other providers, like say TriMet.
And then we just highlight some elements here too that the constraint list doesn't necessarily guarantee that a project will be built or funded, and they don't have to be built in a specific order. Outcomes of the project list have been vetted by the community, will result in a balanced multimodal system that meets the needs of all of our users, aligns with the city and state climate goals, and can be used to build the city's capital improvement plan and align with funding opportunities as they arise. It's kind of my summary slide. And then I just wanted to highlight an example of what that looks like using our pedestrian network. On the left-hand side, you see the existing inventory, which calls out gaps in purple, and then in orange, you see partial gaps where there's sidewalks on only one side. On the right, we evaluated level of stress that these users of the system would feel. Let's see. The evaluation for level of stress included several factors, including pavement quality, the presence of obstructions in the walkway, whether a sidewalk is curb tight or separated by a landscape strip, as well as taking into account traffic speeds and volumes on the adjacent roadway. So this provides a useful indicator of areas that likely will require additional investment. And based on this analysis, we found that many collector and arterial roadways in Tualatin provide a level of stress of 3 or 4, which is fairly high. And that indicates that pedestrians might feel high levels of stress or discomfort along those routes. Anything to add? Okay. Through this evaluation, we found that our pedestrian network could be improved by filling the identified gaps and increasing the number of safe crossings along collectors and arterials, and also providing recreational walking paths to connect to regional trails throughout the area. Now we'll switch gears to talk about the supporting amendments. Most amendments are minor in nature. However, we are proposing more extensive updates to Comprehensive Plan Chapter 8 and Development Code Chapter 74 and 75. Those serve as the transportation chapters in our Tualatin Development Code. To tease out a few examples, we talked about updating the transportation goals in our comprehensive plan. Those are to reflect the changing community values and statewide legislation. We are also updating some of our comprehensive plan maps related to transportation in accordance with the 2045 TSP. The most notable of these amendments is Map 8.1 to update the functional classification of our road network to better align with how the roadways are operating and how they have been functioning. And I'll show you that in a few slides. The ordinance also includes updates that are minor in nature. Using Chapter 31 as an example, we're clarifying some definitions related to transportation. And then some amendments will better organize our code, like relocating the application requirements for a driveway approach permit from our Public Improvement Chapter 74 to our Applications Chapter 33 for consistency throughout the development code. The amendments also expand our land use application requirements to include a street plan that will demonstrate how proposed development will reasonably connect to the adjacent transportation network. And then I also wanted to dive a little deeper into chapters 74 and 75 since we did some work on those. Chapter 74 provides standards for public and private transportation facilities and utilities. It has been updated to establish street standards in compliance with the 2045 TSP and provides for an exceptions process to those standards. Street connectivity standards, maximum block length standards, and mid-block access way standards have been incorporated to address state rulemaking for walkable communities under CFEC. We've added standards for private streets and alleys that can be applied to residential or mixed-use development, and requirements that apply to easements, utilities, or street trees have been clarified and streamlined. Then moving on to Chapter 75, that establishes standards for access management. Under the ordinance, driveway approach requirements have been reorganized, and access spacing standards have been added in compliance with the 2045 TSP. These standards will apply to new access points that connect to the public street network. We are also amending our cross-section design standards, and we'll preview those in the following slides. Do you wish to add anything?
Not at this point.
So this is a preview of our map 8.1, which I mentioned. It's our functional classification map, and it also includes our proposed traffic signal plan.
And so this includes some of the changes in response to some of the comments received. For example, changing Tualatin Road to an arterial and making Leviton a collector. And then in a number of places where it says traffic signal, what we're actually including in the project list is signal or roundabout, or in some places intersection improvements, parentheses, such as a traffic signal or roundabout, with the understanding that when we start doing something there, we first take a look at what's the best form for the intersection.
Just, can you, for the folks that are still watching, define what a arterial and the different levels here, what's an arterial, what's a circulator, just so what are those? What's the difference between those kinds of streets?
Sure, so Principal Arterial is our biggest, busiest streets. That's like Tualatin Sherwood Road. I-5 is kind of off the scale on classification, but that's the highest level. An arterial is the next highest level, and that's roads like Boone's Ferry that carry a lot of traffic, really a lot of focus on moving traffic safely and efficiently, also providing good walking and cycling routes, but they prioritize moving traffic quite a bit more than accessing adjacent properties. And then collector is the next step down, so it's sort of in between arterial and local, and that really balances moving traffic with access to adjacent properties. And then local streets focus primarily on local access and not so much on moving traffic.
So what's an example of a collector?
Collector, let's see. So Leviton, IBAC, Avery east of Boone's Ferry, and like 50th and Nyberg Lane, Hazelbrook, 105th, Blake, 108th, for example.
I just want, so people know what they meant. Thank you.
Sure.
And then new state rules require that roads be more equitably distributed amongst users, which is reflected in our updated cross sections. These updated designs provide for slightly wider sidewalks, planter strips and bike lanes, and slightly narrower vehicular lanes. I don't know.
So the wider planter strips is in accordance with the climate action plan of making sure planter strips are wide enough for trees to really actually grow in. The narrower travel lanes are designed to provide adequate width, but also to kind of visually slow traffic. By making a road look a little smaller, people tend to drive it a little slower. And those do include flexibility to adjust, say, planter strip widths to avoid wetlands or mature trees, for example. And this includes a pretty big change in our local street section. And it's actually provides 3 options for local streets. Our current standard is 32 feet wide with parking on both sides, and then 5-foot planter strip, 5-foot sidewalk. Most developers don't want to use that much space for road right-of-way. And also in newer developments, the driveways are so close together that there really isn't space to park cars. So then we're building these streets at 32 feet wide, but people can't park along them. But because they're really wide, people drive fast. So then we start getting more speeding complaints, and we're building more asphalt, which, contrary to our global warming goals, and also a lot more impervious area for stormwater. So along with the 32-foot section, we have an option for 28 feet with parking on one side, or a 20-foot wide road with no parking, and then 5-foot planter strip, 5-foot sidewalk. And the developers we've been talking with really appreciate that kind of flexibility.
Thanks, Mike. The 2045 TSP and supporting amendments comply with the legislative approval criteria provided in the statewide planning goals, Oregon administrative rules, including the transportation planning rule, the Oregon Highway Plan, Metro Code, and the Tualatin Development Code. Detailed findings are included in Exhibit 4 in the adoption packet. In addition to criteria listed on the previous slide, the findings demonstrate compliance with other relevant plans adopted by the city, including the Basalt Creek Concept Plan and the Parks Master Plan. We now wish to address some of the public comments that we received, and those have been included in your packet materials as Exhibit 5. One public comment expressed interest in maintaining local vehicular access in the Basalt Creek area. In response, staff notes that the city has a local street plan which has been adopted under Comprehensive Plan Map 8.3. This plan illustrates minimum local street connectivity in the Basalt Creek area, as shown in the top right corner. And we are not proposing any updates to this map under the TSP amendments. This comment also expressed concerns over the location of trails in the Basalt Creek area. Staff notes that adopted Map 8.4, which serves as our bicycle and pedestrian plan, and Map 72-2, which serves as our Greenway Development Plan, identify approximate locations of trails and pathways in the Basalt Creek area. This map is shown on the bottom right corner. Map 8.4 includes minor updates to facilities that were previously labeled as planned facilities, but have since been constructed and are now labeled as existing facilities in this update. There are no substantive updates proposed to trails or pathways located in the Basalt Creek under this TSP amendment. Sorry, I just need to move down through my notes. There were also concerns regarding the specific policies and criteria used to evaluate the 2045 TSP. And as mentioned on the previous slide, this TSP was evaluated for conformance against all applicable state, regional, and local criteria. And we have presented those findings to you in Exhibit 4.
All right, so the project that had been a traffic signal at the intersection of Tualatin Road and 115th Avenue, that has been changed to an intersection improvement parentheses, such as a traffic signal or roundabout, to preserve that option. It also has been moved off of the financially constrained list, as discussed at the work session a few weeks ago, and onto the financially unconstrained list. So it could still be built if a need arises, like some sort of a safety issue, or if development happens, like something building to the north of Tualatin Road, that could cause a lot more traffic coming out of there. It could still be required, but it's off the list of projects that the city would fund. And our next step after adopting this is to get into more of a detailed prioritization process of really which projects should we be building next, and start getting a little more of an order and a plan for the next few years based on the big list included in this plan.
And that leads us to our Planning Commission recommendation. I'm not sure if we have any commissioners online with us tonight. I know it's getting late. Okay. Well, I'll deliver that they unanimously voted for approval of the 2045 TSP amendments as proposed in the packet before you. They also wanted to share consideration of concerns from the River Park CIO regarding the traffic issues at the intersection of 115th Avenue and Tualatin Road that Mike addressed. Since our last work session, that project has been moved to our unconstrained project list. But if that project is considered in the future, they would like to see neighborhood engagement for any future proceedings at that intersection. And that concludes my presentation. Can open it up for discussion.
All right. So at this point, are there any members of the public who wish to testify in favor of this proposal? I have one signed up right now. Nancy, welcome back.
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. I mentioned earlier, but I want to commend the staff again on the TSP, their efforts to be inclusive and responsive to all the public outreach they had and the committee. There was really good communication with our advisory committee. I feel like there's a really well-rounded project list for all modes. We listened to those that were more in favor of active transportation. We listened to those that are frustrated with some of the congestion issues in Tualatin. And, you know, Tualatin Sherwood Road probably is the worst culprit we have. And it is what it is, but I feel like we had some good discussions about it. It's a very difficult something to fix. The one project leading into this that I have a major concern about is the potential grade separation of Tualatin Sherwood Road, Boones Ferry Road, and the railroad. It's project CS1, if you want to look at it, find it later. I feel like grade separating that intersection to make traffic go smoother so you don't have to wait for the railroad, whatever, whatever end up being the goals for an ultimate project would be, I feel like that could just provide an incredible barrier for our local community. I mean, think grade separation of I-5 and Nyberg Road, right? It's like, how do you get across when you've got one going under, one going over? And maybe we could get the railroad to go under or over, but, you know, that's, maybe, you can always think positively about these things. So anyway, I feel like when we get to that point, we need to really prioritize local traffic, active transportation, vulnerable populations, rather than maybe commuters wanting to get through town quickly and not have to wait for the railroad. I realize, though, in reading and being in discussion with staff and the consultant, that this project likely would be phased and maybe completely redefined or very much refined as they did more analysis and we set our priorities for that area. Therefore, I do support leaving the project in, not modifying it, recognize that the onerous results could result from grade separation if that was the end product of the project. I want to recognize the importance of adding more greenways to the community, extending trails. The importance of that Tonquin Trail is really good for the south side. Can I do like 30 seconds?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The existing greenways we have are great. I think we always need to remember to try to get them into master plan and into development plans before the neighborhood is built. As we know, a lot of people don't want to put them in after the neighborhood is built. But I do feel like pathways are an essential ingredient of livable, healthy, happy community. And then finally, I want to tell you to keep up the good work. The recent transportation improvements all over town have been great and are definitely a result of your leadership and good staff work. So thank you for allowing me to comment.
Thanks, Nancy. Are there any other members of the public who wish to testify in favor of this proposal ordinance?
I sure would.
Okay, come on up.
Thanks. I share the same as Nancy with the projects on the list. Also, same concerns with the grade separation. I do think the feasibility of that really limits that project anyhow with everything involved or the costs that would go with it. But what I do think that is something else to address the traffic that will be coming down Tualatin Sherwood Road once that project's finished, connecting Sherwood and bringing all that flow in. We don't have a lot of development in Tualatin that's going to continue, but Sherwood and all those communities do, and that's going to push a lot of traffic our way. And I think something that can be very beneficial, and it is kind of mentioned in the plan, is investments in technology with the signals and prioritization of flow. And talking with the city engineers on that, we do have that technology out there that can be updated and upgraded. I think the more control that we have on that within Tualatin to kind of have especially with AI coming out with things to change the lights or change the timing and address traffic concerns as they come up and make changes with that. If anybody's been stuck on that road and or at that intersection and you don't get that arrow all the time, or it's super short, or trying to work around the train when it comes through, it seems a little complicated, or it seems like somebody out there that's flagging traffic could do it a little bit better than how the current light is working. So I think just investing in technology on the lights. Also, as we were talking about the roundabouts or improvement intersections, I personally am not a fan of roundabouts. In school, they were pushed really hard in planning. But I think in reality, especially experiencing the ones in Bend, at least when I've been running out there, I call them kind of like pedestrian danger zones. So when we're talking about like multimodal transportation and safety improvements, I think that the roundabout can sometimes be an effective way in certain areas or small neighborhoods. But when you get to larger streets, the difference of a roundabout or a signalized intersection, I think a signalized intersection is a better route to go through. I think it's safer for pedestrians, less investment that's needed or less right-of-way acquisition needed for that. And then you can also control it from an engineering standpoint versus a roundabout. It's kind of left for the traffic to do its own thing. And I think we'll see that play out really well at the Abernathy Bridge improvements there with that roundabout connecting Oregon City and that it's already got some issues there. So thanks again for staff and the consultants, all the work they did on this, and I look forward to seeing the projects get prioritized on this and what comes out.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to comment in support? Anyone in Zoom? All right. So I'll go ahead and go over to members of the public who wish to testify against the ordinance, either in the room or in Zoom. Okay, seeing none. Is there any member of the public who just wants to testify on this ordinance either way? All right, seeing none, I'll go ahead and move on to council questions for Aaron and Mike. Council Brooks.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for addressing all of the concerns and questions that we had in our last meeting that you presented at. I have just one question, and it comes from a conversation that I had at one point. And is there information on the transportation plan that indicates that it's in a residential or industrial area?
I think that really comes down to zoning.
So it does look at the land use context, which would include the difference between those two zoning efforts. But we don't have a map or anything that distinguishes those zones as it relates to the transportation system. And I don't know if that gets to the heart of your question or.
Yeah, and the only reason why is the context, I think, like I was asking about Boone's Ferry when I first came on as a counselor, and there had been a lot of feedback because of the speed and how wide it should be because of the community and the houses that have been there and have been established there. So I think that when people are looking at it and might not know, I mean, I've been looking at these maps for a long time, and sometimes I don't know if we're in an industrial area or a residential area, if there could just be like a different color or, and I think it would be helpful for contextualization if we're worried about sound, pollution, you know, like if you're coming and going to work, migration type patterns and things like that, that might be helpful for people that are looking at the maps. That's my only thoughts around it.
I appreciate that feedback. I think one thing to share back out is our online mapping system, Tuala GIS, does have the functionality where you can overlay zoning and our functional classifications of the roadway network. Like I said, we don't really have that visually shown in the TSP, but we do have the online medium that we can use to display that. And I don't know if you're asking for updates or just sharing feedback for maybe future efforts.
Whatever works is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Council President Pratt.
Really quick, that signal system is like one of my top priorities, and it's on the constraint list, just so you know.
And it's in our capital improvement plan to start looking at it next year.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest complaints I hear from people about our transportation system, so.
Of course, I have to manage expectations. We can't
Well,
get
it
everybody
does have a
agreeing
$2
what they
million
want.
price tag on it, so. Anyway, on the grade separation, I'm sorry, I didn't bring my laptop, so I can't look it up. So does it state that the road will go over or the train, or is it undefined?
So in the TSP, we have 2 projects listed at the Boone's Ferry, Tualatin Sherwood Railroad intersection. We have the larger project, which is some form of grade separation, undefined at this point, but to be investigated.
Okay.
And then the smaller project is some combination of turn lanes or walking, biking improvements to basically make it work as well as it can at grade.
Okay, and then my last question is, when you listed next steps and coming up with a prioritization list, and I see Metro on there, so what role does Metro play in all this?
Well, we get to prioritize, the city gets to
Okay.
prioritize what the city wants. Metro gets involved with things like some allocation of certain sources of federal funding
Oh, okay.
and things like that. Then they also manage the regional transportation plan, which projects of a certain size have to be in before they can be done, and then that's used for air quality modeling and so on.
Okay,
But Tualatin gets to prioritize what Tualatin wants.
great, thank you.
Other questions? Okay. Seeing no other questions, I'll go ahead and close this hearing, and we'll move on to deliberations.
I'm in support of this plan,
All right. Do you have a motion?
and I'd like to motion, do we have to do the whole reading?
The first and
Okay.
second, all that good stuff.
I'd like to motion for first reading of ordinance number 1451-25,
By title only.
by title only. Second?
I have a motion and second requesting first reading by title only of ordinance, scroll up so I get it right. Ordinance 1451-25. Any discussions on those motions? Counselor Sacco,
Aye.
Counselor Hillier.
Aye.
Counselor Reyes,
Yes.
Counselor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Counselor Brooks,
Aye.
Council President Pratt,
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Ordinance number 1451-25, an ordinance related to land use, amending the Tualatin Comprehensive Plan and Development Code PTA 25-001, PMA 25-0001.
I'd like to motion for a second reading of ordinance 1451-25 by title only. Second?
I have a motion and second for second, motion and second for second reading of ordinance 1451-25 by title only. Any discussions on those motions? Counselor Sacco,
Aye.
Counselor Hillier,
Aye.
Counselor Reyes,
Yes.
Counselor Brooks,
Aye.
Counselor Gonzalez,
Aye.
Council President Pratt,
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Gotta keep on top of you on his feet.
Ordinance number 1451-25, an ordinance related to land use, amending the Tualatin Comprehensive Plan and Development Code PTA 25-001, PMA 25-001.
Okay. I motion that we adopt ordinance number 1451-25. Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 1451-25. Any discussions on motions? All right, Counselor Gonzalez,
Aye.
Counselor Brooks,
Aye.
Counselor Sacco,
Aye.
Counselor Hillier,
Aye.
Counselor Reyes.
Before I say aye, I just want to say that I'm glad to see that something that we've accomplished from our goals that says adopting the transportation plan. So aye.
Council
Almost
President,
there.
yeah, I was there. Council President Pratt.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The ordinance is adopted. All right. Oh, yeah, it's a TSP. You gotta do that. All right. Thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Mike.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy.
All right. So that brings us to, I think, items removed from consent. We did have one item removed from consent, item number 6, and that was Councilor Gonzalez.
So I just wanted to vote no for the increases, so I did not want to lump this in with the other voting, so.
All right, so we just need to vote on the resolution on its own, correct, Kevin?
Yes.
All right. And that's a voice vote or a roll call vote? Both, that vote.
This is a resolution on consent. It's been moved, I believe, general business, so roll call.
Roll call, okay.
I motion that we adopt resolution number 5903-25.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 5903-25. Any discussions on those motions? Seeing none, Counselor Sacco,
Aye.
Counselor Hillier,
Aye.
Counselor Reyes.
I'm going to abstain from this
Okay.
just because I
Right.
need more info.
Counselor Gonzalez.
I'm going to vote no.
Okay. Counselor Brooks.
Aye.
Council President Pratt.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. It passes. All right. Council Communications, let's go ahead and we'll start to my left. Councilor Gonzalez.
I have nothing to report on. Thank you.
Councilor Brooks.
All right. So from, what is it, July 15th through the 18th, I was at the National League of Cities Board and Leadership meeting. And it was a very good experience. I represent and participate with 2 councils, 1 committee, and 1 affinity group, and have built relationships over the last 6 years. And there's a couple highlights that I want to mention. Anyone that wants to talk further or would like more information, I can send out. But the one thing I wanted to say was the Community Development Block Grant was moved forward at the time I was there. So the advocacy that us and other cities around the country utilized helped. The home grant, however, had a 0 mark at the end of its budget allotment, which means not only would it not be funded, but it could also be zeroed out to just be discontinued. So I think that we'll be looking at advocacy hopefully in the future to help protect that home grant. At least I would like to. They also covered a lot of issues that are going on with cities that are being impacted by these big roundups. It was very emotional conversation, and also hate crimes being up 30%. People of color that serve as city councilors having their lives threatened. All kinds of things that fortunately our council hasn't experienced, but it was a very sobering conference. And when I'm thinking through problem solving right now, I really am thinking to the future on those basic, not only food, clothing, shelter, but the very bottom 2 was safety, and how do we promote those things in our community, which is a really sad state of affairs when, in my mind, we don't need to be in this position. I also met with on 7/23 a gentleman that I met at the conference named Matthew Halliday, who gave me a presentation on Indigov, which I am not prepared to really discuss too much yet, but it is a way of streamlining work, especially work from our emails. And also attended the same day an NBC Leo general membership meeting where they discussed their summer conference. On the August 8th, I was invited to attend a tour by Metro Councilor Rosenthal for a new forest acquisition up near Scappoose that's still in Macomb County. It will be utilized for studying all different kinds of resiliency and preservation of trees and forests. And I think that's a relevant conversation, especially after tonight. And there are also 4 riparian areas in that forest, and 3 of them are fish bearing. And there's also a new institute that I've learned about that is free, and you can learn about best practices with trails. And my fellow counselors, I attended our Pride concert and celebration. My dog can't handle big crowds, I realize. She's not usually like that, but she seems to get overstimulated. She's a puppy. So I would want to say that I wish it was more strongly attended because it was an amazing event. And I have just some of the cards from the people that presented, besides some of our own counselors here. There was a Rose City Delights and the Sustainable Refillery, Melior, and many others. Hopefully there's a place on our website that says all of the different people that were vendors there, because there were some amazing arts and services and lovely people that aren't all from our area that learned more about Tualatin and felt welcomed by our community, which made me feel really good and really proud of the work that we've done, especially with the IDEA committee, which I don't have to say much more about that. And I think there's more, but I can't think any more tonight. So that's enough on me. Thank you.
Councilor Sacco.
Thank you. So I attended the core area community workshop. It was great to hear all the community input. And I think Michelle and Sid are doing a great job. I really love the way that Michelle sort of framed up the conversation, because it could be kind of tough to do that with so many people in the room, but she made it very clear on what the objectives were. It was really a fun event. Attended the IDEA committee. The committee talked about their summer outreach strategy, and they have been attending events such as the concert on Friday. And I talked to Chris, who I think manned the booth the entire time, and he had some great interactions with community members coming over, and Chris having the chance to explain the IDEA committee to our community. The IDEA committee also adopted their work plan last meeting, which is very exciting. And then we recently had our CCAA meeting, and we always say this, but it is very, very true, can't say it enough. We had lots of wonderful applicants. We had more applicants than positions, and just really encourage people to continue to look for ways to volunteer in our community. We have the best volunteers in the world. Thank you.
Councilor Hilliard.
Thank you. I had one meeting, and it was actually earlier today. There's a lot of discussion on the Washington County Consolidated Communications Agency. I get to sit on the Board of Commissioners for that, and there are many conversations around the budget and potentially gaps of service and how much cities pay into fire versus police, or for the 911 operations and such. And so I think just for me, they held a meeting today to help, well, there were a lot of people there, but to answer a whole bunch of questions. And Don Hudson was also there to help really refine the questions. And so we're going to have some better answers here in the next 6 months, probably, especially before we go into the budget session in January and February. And so we'll be able to have some more information, because there does seem to continue to be a lack of staffing, and they're really looking for qualified people to find jobs as a 911 dispatch person. So I encourage you to consider that as a job option, or to share with people for that. So thank you.
Councilor Reyes.
Just the official meeting with the advisory committee's interviews with candidates, with the two fellow counselors that joined me with that, Councilor Pratt and Councilor Sacco. As always, we always say this, but it is really hard to pick someone, or just because there's just wonderful people in our community that just ready to serve, and they have the heart, and sometimes it's hard to say no, but we can't, we have to pick one. So that's always really difficult. But I always enjoy those meetings, and I enjoy meeting people in our community that I don't necessarily meet them anywhere else other than in those meetings. And then I start seeing them more and more. So it's always an honor and a pleasure to be in that committee. I did attend the Latino Business Network on last Thursday, and I just sat there and one of our business presented, but I also was there to answer any questions about the city. I tried my best to explain what's going on and how we do business, and kind of like the format and the structure of our city. I realized that it's not the same in other countries or in other parts of the world or even in other states. So even by saying here in Oregon and here in Tualatin, this is how we are structured, and these are the steps you can take to reach out to certain people in our city. And so even that, it's explaining that a little bit, and why do I serve? Why am I not a paid counselor versus other ones? So I really literally have to explain the fundamentals, very, very basic structure, so they can understand and actually have access to the things that we can offer here for that community and the businesses. But it's always good to sit there, and they're always asking interesting questions that I sometimes think they don't know, but I'm like, wow, okay, you do know about that. So anyway, they're paying attention, they're looking, and they know a lot about what's happening in the downtown development and all that planning, which I really am happy that they're getting informed. So that's all.
Council President Pratt.
Okay, I attended the C4 Metro meeting, and they talked about the interstate bridge replacement, which is now up to $7.5 billion. And ODOT's claiming that once they put tolling in, 3 to 5% of people only will divert to I-205, so good luck with that. The mayor and I attended 3 different things with the R1 We got a tour of the Abernathy Bridge, which is pretty fascinating. And what did they say? They went down over 300 feet down with those 12-foot pilings. So, and then we went to a workshop that night where we got, it was cathartic if nothing else, but we all got to say what we thought ODOT should prioritize to ODOT directly. So that was good. And then we had a regular R1 Act meeting. Oh gosh, what did they talk about that? Safety. The safety, that they have this goal of 0 deaths or severe injuries by 2035. Well, they give, it was a very scant, I guess I put it. It had very little data, but they were trying to show us that they're going in the wrong direction. So thank you, city staff, for all the work you put into giving us information so we could make a decision. Anyway, then I went to the C4 retreat. The first day was on housing. That was kind of fascinating. They had some people talk about the differences between the rural and more suburban parts of Clackamas County. And then Happy Valley, this is kind of a foreboding of what's coming, but Clackamas County worked really hard to get a certain type of housing out of a certain area, and they did a lot of work around to make it work. And then Governor Kotek's bill undid all that, and now the state gets to decide things for us. And then the second day was on transportation, and there was a lot of asking ODOT and TriMet just to rethink their systems and processes, and especially TriMet and their hub system, and not, like, they need to rethink the whole thing, I guess, and maybe work with others to provide transportation to little cities instead of these big buses going everywhere. I went to the Clackamas County Business Association event where Mark Meeks spoke, and he mostly spoke about why he didn't vote for the transportation bill, which was mainly because it was dropped at the last minute. They weren't given information, and he felt there was a total lack of transparency. Then I went to the Community Identity Workshop, which was great. I was at the booth for the Community Advisory Committee on the Downtown Revitalization with Sherilyn at the Pride event. We got input from different people. And food carts was really popular, by the way. So just thought I'd mention that. And then, our CCAA meeting, and yeah, we're pretty fortunate, the people we have volunteering in our community. That's it.
Quickly, I want to thank ODOT for the Abernathy Bridge tour. You don't really see much going over the bridge. It doesn't seem like they're making any progress at all. But once you go under the bridge, it's amazing to see what they've done, putting new pillars in, taking old pillars out. The expanding of the lanes is already done. It's just pretty cool to see what they've done. But there's, what did I say, another year and a half? Yeah, it's still got a while to go. And one of the cool features that we never realized, they talked about was the bridge, the way it was built, has the ability to flex. So what they're, in the coming months, they're gonna flex the bridge up and slide things in and flex it down. It's an engineering marvel what they're doing there. And it was pretty cool to hear about it. On July 22nd, Chair Roberts, the Clackamas County Chair, had his first meeting with mayors. He's just been, working, had a fire hose on him since he took over in January. It was his check-in with mayors to find out what was going on in each of our cities. And then he talked about, the housing effort, transportation efforts, and the courthouse effort in Clackamas County. And he was looking forward to the C4 retreat. On the 24th, the GPI Small Cities Consortium met, and it was one of the biggest meetings we've had. It was a legislative update from the lens of economic development for the state and for its cities. Incredible attendance, great speakers, and looking at what got done in the legislature and what needs to be done in terms of economic development in the region. Share Council President Pratt perspective on the R1 Act meeting on the 4th about transportation safety, ODOT safety. We're going backwards in terms of safety, and it wasn't one of the best presentations I've ever seen. That just seemed to go on and on and on, and we're all looking at the numbers going, we're never going to make this goal. We're going backwards in terms of safety on our interstates. I want to thank Cindy and the Safety Town folks. It was fun to pop in to lunch, a couple of lunch times, and chat with the kids going to Safety Town, and then the Q&A, as usual, very interesting questions every time. Enjoyed that. Again, and the downtown poll center meeting, I was astounded by how many people showed up. And I agree with what Councilor Sacco was saying. Michelle was fantastic and what she did with that. National Night Out, thanks, Chief. That was a fun event. Our neighborhood had an event. Between our residents and the Tualatin Police Department, all the ribs I made got wiped out. 6 slabs of ribs gone. And we got Tony was there, and the new police dog was there, in addition to the motorcycle cops. So thanks again for doing National Night Out and doing the rounds. And today finally was, also wanted to thank the Tualatin Valley Pride folks and city staff for putting the Pride event on. I would like to see more people. I think it was just a timing issue. It started early, and I know Heidi and Julie mentioned about doing an after action and see what might be better next year. And finally, today, Chair Harrington had her meeting with the mayors, and it was more discussions about the 2 Washington County levies, and she presented us with the new DEI standards for Washington County. Very, very interesting about the new plan, and what, it's interesting, they color-coded red, yellow, and green words that for any kind of federal grants for Washington County staffers. The red words can't be used. They have a list of words. There are substitutes for it. It's just very interesting, and the gyrations the county had to do to continue to get the federal funding and revise their DEI policy. I know they took a lot of heat from folks about it, and Keith Wilson, the mayor of Portland's going through that same heat. When you're risking a couple $100 million, you have to revise. You got to do what you got to do, or where are you going to come up with those couple $100 million? And that's it for me. Anything else for the good of the order?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Good night. Have a very good evening.
Recording stopped.